Good afternoon. Welcome to IMT Director's Cut. On behalf of IMT Ghaziabad, I, Juhi Gehlot Sarkar, faculty in the Department of Marketing IMT Ghaziabad, extend a warm welcome to all the participants in the session. Congratulations to all of you for moving one step closer to your journey. You joining this session is a testament to the fact that you're invested in making an informed decision with regards to your career. Today, we bring to you the leadership of IMT campuses, and the purpose is to let you know what vision for campuses does the leadership have in mind. With this aim, I would introduce you who we have with us, our guests, our panelists for today. Joining us today is Director IMT Ghaziabad, Dr. Vishal Talwar. Dr. Talwar is a professor of marketing and director at IMT Ghaziabad. He holds a PhD from Alliance Manchester University Business School, University of Manchester. Dr. Talwar is a well-known and highly passionate academic leader who has held key leadership roles at various organizations. Dr. Talwar was also associated with Henley Business School, University of Reading, London School of Economics, and Manchester Business School. His acumen for leadership is fortified by his pursuit of meaningful research, and he has some high impact publications to his credit, including publication in Financial Times Top 50, which is known as FT50 journal. Also joining us today is the chair admissions, Professor Harvinder Singh. Dr. Harvinder Singh is a professor in marketing with IMT Ghaziabad, a well-renowned and highly passionate teacher who was awarded the Devang Mehta Award for Best Teacher in Retail Management and Best Professor in Marketing Management by World Education Congress. His contribution to academics includes several highly renowned journal publications and highly impactful case publications, including contributions towards cases in Richard Ivey and Harvard Business School repositories. Sir has also been he has taught at various international business schools in Spain, Israel, and UAE. He has conducted several training and consulting assignments for the industry. He is an efficient administrator and has served in various capabilities. As we know, currently he dons the hat of chair admissions, by the virtue of which we have the pleasure of having him today. We also have with us Miss Akriti. Akriti is our very own alumni. Akriti is an IMT Ghaziabad alumni from the 2022 batch, and she was last employed with L'Oreal. She has recently joined Noise as manager marketing. She actively mentors and takes career counseling sessions while working on reducing social inequalities through her NGO called Sevam Foundation. She has mentored more than 250 students till now. As part of this, she has spoken at platforms like Unstop and Inside IIM, as well as colleges like IIM Trichy, IMT Ghaziabad, XIM Bhubaneswar, and Birla Institute of Management Technology. In her leisure time, Akriti enjoys writing, painting, and traveling. Welcome, Akriti. Joining us soon would be another of our very own alumni, a 2016 batch alumnus, Mr. Agrigesh Ramani. Agrigesh is the co-founder and CEO of Ecrecon Genome, which is an organization that is developing technologies to provide most affordable point-of-care pharmacogenomics and genomic diagnostics. He recently launched CoviQuick, an RT lamp-based test, and it is one of the 2 firms chosen by Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, to produce and expand this test across the country. For his exceptional contributions to industry, society, and the institute, IMT Ghaziabad recently awarded Agrigesh with the Distinguished Young Alumnus Award, and it was presented to him on October 15th, 2022. I welcome all the panelists very heartily. Okay, let me begin with a question to Dr. Talwar. Sir, the current world is, characterized by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So in such a scenario, where do you think is management education headed? And how is IMT responding and evolving with the changing needs of management education?
Thank you so much for your question, and Professor Juhi, and welcome everyone. Such a pleasure, at least for us from the Delhi NCR region. It's a rather cold afternoon, possibly around 10, 12 degrees or maybe a little bit more. But I'm sure everybody else who's joining us, some are in the colder region, some are in more pleasant areas. Thank you very much. I think Professor Juhi has introduced every one of us. I would like to introduce her as well. She's someone who's been, a pillar as far as research and teaching is concerned within IMT Ghaziabad, has had our own lot of publications as we go forward, and that's going strength by strength. And I think two of our foremost faculties are here with us right now to have a chat and discuss with you as we go forward. And of course, Akriti is here, and soon Agrugesh will join us. But coming back to your question, Professor Juhi, I think we're headed for some interesting times. If you look at management education, if you look at this whole question around its usefulness, the value addition, in what form should management education exist as we go forward? I think, yes, management education has been leading, has been popular in the last many years. But I think if you look at how management education is being shaped as we go forward, the many multiple factors that are affecting it. One, obviously, the big elephant in the room is technology, right? With it comes a lot of the ways of work, the leadership styles attached to it, a lot of supply chain upheaval that is currently happening as we go forward. I think there are a lot of questions which impinge on management, education, and business leaders as a whole. But if you look at management education at the core, and this is something that I've written about quite a bit, across various outlets, is the fact that management education is much more than possibly your domain knowledge of being a good marketer or a good finance person or being a good human resource individual or something else. But I think management education possibly is developing as a three-pronged institution, if I can call it that. One, which is the domain at the core, whether you are from the banking financial services perspective, whether you're a marketer, whether you're a product management individual. But at the same time, what you have to remember is that technology is not just touching management a great deal, but is actually playing a role at the core as well. So I think if I look at what's happening in the future, there are possibilities, and I keep reading about this, is the fact that you might have roles and jobs which maybe machine personality designers, right? Obviously, a lot of bots and a lot of various aspects which are non-human are coming along and possibly dictating many aspects of our lives or shaping it or possibly making it better. Management education will also see a lot of technological infusion at the core, right? So you would expect management students, business leaders to be able to be comfortable in tech-oriented subjects, in tech-oriented decision-making, in environments that are increasingly getting automated. That also means that our MBA grads that are getting into management education right now through their MBA or PGDM program will have to be very, very comfortable in those kind of environments, in those kind of decision-making, in what are the implications of coding, for example, what are the implications of various tech platforms, for example. So if you don't understand that from within, how are you able to make those decisions? But at the same time, at the core, once again, when I was talking about three prongs, the other prong that I'm talking about here is the liberal orientation, right? This whole idea of liberal arts, liberal sciences, some people call it, these liberal studies, for example. So when you are essentially managing environments which are half automation, half human being, you're managing environments wherein there's a lot of alignment between what is machine and what is man, a lot of questions will come up, a lot of questions around society, around existence, around leadership in such environments, around subsistence, around incomes, around living, with families and all that. And I think business leaders need to be able to be also well versed in certain liberal courses, even as possibly as simple as maybe even economic history. When you're making decisions, when you are within economic environments, you have to be able to understand what's the history behind it also, to be able to then portend for the future. So a lot of these subjects actually now becoming rather important as we go forward. You can't also miss the fact that it's not just about the technicality of the subject, but as business leaders, it's also about how you manage yourselves, how you manage other people. If you are not able to manage yourselves very well, if you don't understand yourself very well, if you don't have a certain holistic orientation or holistic development, then also things become rather difficult. Leaders in the longer term, in fact, even now, who are getting into management education, who are possibly seeing themselves as corporate individuals or entrepreneurs or whatever, will also have to manage aspects of the mind. They'll have to manage in a way what we loosely term as mental health. Right now, whether it is a function of this becoming important during COVID times, post-COVID times, but quite frankly, a lot of these changes that we see right now around have been around, except for the fact that they become speeded up. They got a little bit more manifested. They come a little bit on the surface because of our last 3 years of COVID that have affected us in more ways than one. IMT, if I look at that particular question, IMT is obviously geared up. We are an institution which came into existence in 1980, came along as answering to the call of practically driven management education. Sri Mahendranath, founded the institution. And of course, that's been our ethos. So right from the beginning, our vision has been around to be a leading management institution that contributes to the development of business and society through excellence in grooming leadership, entrepreneurial talent, and research. What you have to remember here is that the vision largely remains intact, largely remains strong, and that's what we're building on for the longer term. But what we also have to realize that the next 10, 15 years of education in general, and not just management education, is so different. And of course, IMT also, is gearing up, has geared up in the last 2.5 years to be able to face that particular reality. Whether it's in terms of how you assess, whether it's in terms of what you deliver in the classroom, whether it is about the kind of courses that are offered, whether it is the nature of the delivery of the curriculum, whether it's about a kind of balance between offline and online learning, the blended approaches to learning or hybrid approaches to learning. All these are areas that IMT Ghaziabad has been very seriously looking at, in the last many months, to then understand, what is it that will impact, business leaders in the future, that will impact people who will go through their MBA and PGDM courses right now. And of course, one of the big areas that IMT has been known for and has been developing much more is this whole idea of industry-focused learning, because that will remain paramount. That's something that will remain, a very essential ingredient to practice-driven business leaders, and that's something that we've been constantly working on. So, to your very short question, as usual, academics like me will give you very long answers, but that's what it is for the moment.
Thank you, sir. And you talked about entrepreneurship and the focus on industry-driven curriculum and learning. So we have with us Agrigesh, and who better than Agrigesh to tell us his journey of entrepreneurship. Agrigesh, I am sure the participants here would be very eager to know what drove you into entrepreneurship just after the college. You took the plunge.
Thank you, Ms. Juhi, and thank you, Dr. Vishal and Dr. Harvinder and IMT Ghaziabad for having me here. For us, we always had a mission from day one that we wanted to build something which will help people. Our primary agenda was that, our primary vision and mission was that translated it into, as the time progressed, into a larger vision, wherein the mission right now for the company is to impact over 1 billion lives positively in the next 5 to 7 years timeline. And towards that, we started building different technologies, which we were fortunate enough in our group to be having the ability to do that. And since then, our company has come a decently long way with products for COVID, products for TB, products in transplant care, etc. And that is fundamentally altering each aspect. So if you look at, for example, chronic diseases, most of the chronic diseases today doesn't have a non-invasive method to diagnose and monitor them. That's where we come in, wherein we enable the doctors, the clinicians, and the hospital infrastructure and the patient by providing methods which are non-invasive in a way through genomic sequencing, through simple blood sample, and helping people and helping clinicians take a better clinical outcomes. and thereby enabling better patient care. And in that process, that has been our journey. And in IMT, if you look at it, while I was there in IMT, for me, right, as any entrepreneur, if you look at it, there are only three primary jobs for an entrepreneur, right? You have a large vision and a broad canvas that you have to paint. You have to try to work towards that canvas to build different blocks. You have to find pieces of puzzle to be put together. And then you have to mitigate risks, because nobody in this world is super perfect. You can be a B school grad from Harvard, you can be a MIT grad, anybody, right? Even Abdul Kalam had to try many times before he launched the mission, right? So nobody is perfect. And if you are not that well trained, unless you're like Dhirubhai Ambani, right, who was like God gifted, right? Unless you're somebody like that, it's always better to de-risk, identify different risks and try to mitigate those risks. IMT gives the exposure through various case studies, through various exposure through different interactions. You can identify what are the risks and what are the mitigations for that risk as you progressed. So the mistakes that you make while in an entrepreneurship journey would not be something that somebody has already done that, right? It will be potentially new mistakes which other people can learn from. And thereby, as the time progresses, this risks mitigation effort will become exponentially large. Today, if you look at the ecosystem in the US, one of the reasons why in the Silicon Valley, in the Boston area, there is so much capital being attained, there is so many entrepreneurs coming up, is because for the last 150 years, entrepreneurship has flourished in the US. And thereby, there is a generation and generations of knowledge that has been translating to different people. And that's where your risk mitigation has become exponentially large in the US. So whatever mistakes they make are new ones, like Forex, right? FTS. These are something new, cryptocurrency, a new wave, right? Nobody knew about that previously. India, this is happening. The culture of entrepreneurship in every doorstep to Shark Tank and various programs that is happening today. And our institutions, IMT as an institution, our institutions and our industry are propagating that and thereby enabling a easier way forward for newer entrepreneurs by taking better risks and but mitigating those risks as well. And when you have the ability to mitigate risk, you can take larger bets and larger goals and bigger risks you can take, because you can always mitigate them for a period of time and thereby creating larger impact as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Agrigesh. Agrigesh, if you would have some advice for the aspirants with regards to improving their prospects or improving the experiences they have once they convert IMT and they join us at IMT fraternity, how best could they, utilize their time here?
Network. That's the simple word, because network becomes your net worth over a period of time. People that I was fortunate enough to network with during my stay in IMT. For example, my first company where I interned, the founder of that firm is a shareholder in my company today, where I had interned. The first job I had taken in between, they are part of my company. So net, it boils down to how you network, right? How well you are able to collaborate with different people, how well you are able to learn the things, learn the outcomes, relate whatever case studies like Professor Harvinder and their team and Dr. Salwar and their team showcases to different students during marketing class, sales management class. How, if you have an idea, right? How does those case studies and how, if you put yourself in their shoes, if suppose there is a case study of, let's say, an entrepreneur or a company, right? If you put yourself in their shoes, what will you decide and how will your life translate and how is your idea going to be impacted based on those learning outcomes? So once you have that perspective built in, right, and you're understanding that entrepreneurship is not like a short-term sprint, right? 1 year, 2 year, you build a big company and exit. That's not how it works. It takes 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to build that, unless you're Adani or some other aspect, right? You have so much connections that you can build that. Unless that is the case, there is a long, even Adani for an aspect has taken 20 years to come to where he is today. So even if you take Adani or Ambani, right, they have also taken a long vintage to build here. So it's not easy as an entrepreneur to build that. So from a long haul, and of course, take a perspective of different people, right? Put yourself in the case study shoes. See if that case study is your life. What will you decide? Yeah.
Team, do we have any specific questions the aspirants would like to ask Mr. Ramani?
So I just quickly wanted to, while the questions are coming in, I really want to thank Agrigesh. I've met him personally twice, once in Chennai when I went for a small alumni reunion, and even otherwise during the convocation when he came to receive his award. I think very dynamic individual, someone who's able to, one, express himself and also walk the talk. And I guess that's the reason why he's currently building a Cranolife majorly and at a breakneck speed. So we really want to congratulate him as well as wish him well as he goes forward to make his organization bigger. It's great to know that the government is also seeing his work in one particular area. For example, the rapid COVID test. I think they've also asked him to work on some other aspects. For example, the rapid COVID TB test as well. Obviously, the idea is that the process is, possibly maybe similar, but it's addressing a major need in the country, right? Tuberculosis by itself is a big issue. And I think this is where we believe fundamentally that, IMT graduates and alumni, who we proudly call, should be able to impact not just themselves, but a large vicinity or a society around. That's fundamentally important. What kind of footprint they're able to create as we go forward is something that we as academics and we as faculty are really, really, proud about and passionate about. I think these are the skills predominantly that we hope to inculcate in every individual as we go forward. Thank you, Agrigesh, for joining us.
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Professor Talwar, we have the example of Agrigesh. We have Akriti with us. So many C-suite executives, entrepreneurs, leaders who have made a lot of impact have emerged from IMT. So could you throw some light on IMT Ghaziabad's commitment towards building leadership and harnessing the talent of entrepreneurship? How does the ecosystem help individuals?
Look, I think, fundamentally, one of the aspects that Agrigesh talked about is obviously the network. But I think also equally important will be this whole idea of imagination and the power to dream, right? So fundamentally, when you're exposed to an environment wherein you have different kinds of people from all across the country, sometimes from abroad, coming along on exchange, right? You're sitting down in your classroom with people who themselves have certain ambitions, certain aspirations, certain vision, right? Automatically, if you're using that to the right level, if you get inspired by it, firstly, right, you get motivated by it, and at the same time, you, in a way, help that manifest a certain desire and certain ambition, certain aspiration in you, then of course, the sky is the limit. Now, coming back to your question of entrepreneurship, I think, someone like me who's been involved and engaged with entrepreneurship innovation for some time, I think at the core, we would love a lot of our students to also not just possibly be a part of the corporate environment or get into roles and jobs as they go forward. And of course, that's something that, we do well as well. But we would also like a certain, base of our students to, start looking at startups, start looking at ideas, do their ideation, work or create possibly a team of future co-founders within the IMT system as well. So I'll give you an example, Dharmil Sheth, who's also, he's a co-founder of Farmeezy. When he's an IMT Ghaziabad graduate, he's an alumni, 2013. When he spoke about it, he mentioned that, a lot of the people that I was with at IMT Ghaziabad in the campus are people who are working with me, either at, in the teams or at leadership levels and stuff. So I think, that's something that we have to be able to look at. And in IMT Ghaziabad, is looking at people to be able to do that, give them the right kind of mentoring, take advantage of the e-cell, take advantage of the incubator. Incidentally, we have a new head of the incubator who's joined us in November, and he's also himself an IMT graduate. He's someone who's from the 2012 batch. He's the head of the incubator. We would like us, the students to work with him, with his team, and possibly take those steps forward, right? So I think it's important that many of us, might think about the fact that, hey, can I do it? Is it too risky? It's not. I think you have to explore. IMT Ghaziabad, like any other good educational institution, is a laboratory, right? You can experiment, and at the same time, you should be experimenting, because you really don't know what your truest potential is, right? You have to start doing that process of discovery. And of course, IMT Ghaziabad has more than enough, courses, has more than enough mentors, have more than enough guidance to be able to take you to the next steps. If I take the example once again of, Spinny. So one of the co-founders of Spinny is also an IMT Ghaziabad alumni. And of course, if you have that inkling of, not possibly just a commercial aspect, commercial venture, let's say the way Agragesh is, if you look at, how Agragesh has gone about it, for him, it's about social impact as well. Similarly, we have other people. We have a financial inclusion, company called Buddy for Study, right? He's a graduate from IMT Ghaziabad alumni, system as well, and Ashutosh Burnwal. What he's created is a company that by 2030 would like to be able to give scholarships to almost 1 crore people, 1 crore people. That's his goal. That's his objective. And I think these are things that we would really want to bring to the system for anyone who's happy to start his or her own venture, be impressed by the other people who've been able to do it, get the right guidance, and take it forward.
Thank you, sir. So that brings me to Akriti. Akriti, sir has been talking about the ecosystem at IMT and how IMT has been trying to it. I think you recently found your calling. You have been pursuing your activities through NGO. Could you walk us through the journey of your life at IMT and post IMT? How has it shaped up for you, the entire experience?
Absolutely. So thank you, first of all, Vishal sir, Julie ma'am, Harvinder sir, and everyone who's present here for inviting me. I think I completely align with what Agragesh and Vishal sir has said. So IMT gives you a lot of space for experimenting. And I think not a lot of people know, but I started 4 startups while I was at IMT. And though not all of them worked out, but they actually taught me as to what works and what does not work. They've given me connections. So one of the startups, we were even able to pitch to investors while we were at IMT. And, though the startup did not work because there were scalability issues and everything, but right now I'm working on one of my biggest projects with that investor. And that is the scope and the space that IMT gives you. So now considering SAVEM, for example, the idea for SAVEM Foundation was started at IMT. So we were like 4 people who, came up with this idea that we all believe in one cause and we wanted to do something about it. And for 2 years, we did actually also. But again, there was scalability issues, there were feasibility issues, and that is what we actually learned in our 2 years. And now I have again relaunched SAVEM Foundation that is going to help hundreds of women to get employment through the handicraft work that they do. We try to create a path for them to connect with companies, to connect with other agencies where they can actually sell their product because they don't have the means to do it. So I think at IMT you get this scope, this network. Some of my closest guides, mentors, everyone right now are from IMT, alums, from 2012 batch, 2010 batch, even from my own peer circle, So this journey that IMT takes you through, it actually gives you a lot of space, a lot of capabilities, a lot of skill set to shape yourself as a well-rounded individual.
Wow, thank you, Akriti. Akriti, while you talk about space and the scope provided by IMT to flourish, we have a very interesting question by a participant. So one of the aspirants asked, and I open it to the panelists, everybody. Considering the current global economic scenario and hire and fire policy, how relevant the courses offered are going to be, and how can the students equip themselves with what IMT can offer? So this is something, while your experience has been very fruitful, yes, this forms a major avenue.
So I think I'll take this first, and maybe if anybody wants to join in. Look, absolutely. I think the world of work is obviously changing. There'll be more situations wherein people will be managing teams across the world, and they'll never ever get to meet face to face, right? Similarly, for whatever reasons, conditions, or certain regulatory structures in the various countries, there'll always be that Damocles sword, on the head in terms of jobs or whatever else is concerned, or whatever you call as hire or fire. I think it is important for any self-respecting business school to be able to create that sense, one, of confidence. The other is a certain orientation to problem solving, right? If you focus on certain aspects of your ability to problem solve, your ability to ask as well as address certain critical questions, your ability to be adept at the quantitative and qualitative appreciation of the subjects, right? And at the same time, getting a taste of newer subjects. So let's say, for example, IMT has a course on managing hybrid organizations, right? So, it's a course wherein you are trying to, essentially understand how do hybrid organizations, when I say hybrid organization, it could be about remote and offline people possibly working together. It could be around this whole idea of, organizations, it's wherein the goal is not necessarily commercial, but the goal could also be impact, could be society, NGOs, for example, right? These are the kind of courses that do come along. So there'll be specific courses, let's say in the human resources field, there could be specific courses in strategy, there could be specific courses even in the operations side, which will be addressing a lot of these queries, a lot of these questions. A lot of our faculty who are within the system, they have, taught in various parts of the world. So they bring in that level of knowledge, they bring in those contexts into the classroom. Similarly, you have international faculty, you have industry-focused visiting faculty who've been there, done that, to be able to come in and share those kind of experiences. For example, we have Professor Puneet Gupta, right? He's someone who's actually done the deals. He's someone who's done a lot of, financed deals for governmental, non-governmental organizations, raising funds. And of course, someone like him will be abreast with a lot of the difficulties of raising capital in this day and age right now. If those are the kind of people who are possibly sharing their experience in the classroom, I think your own abilities, your own reinforcement or validation of theoretical concepts gets stronger, and you get readier, if I can use that term, for whatever world that you will be getting into 2 years down the line.
Well, adding to what Dr. Talwar said, see, in any good business school, learning is not confined to the classroom. So MBA is more of a training, right? It's a 24-hour, 2-year-long training. So through our courses, assignments, activities, and exposure, I think we create an environment that actually makes the students be ready for any eventuality. So be it a surprise quiz announced by a professor in the class, when you enter the class and suddenly there's a quiz, fine. That's actually a bolt from the blue. The point is, and look at your peer group, fine. People who are among the top brains in Delhi NCR or India, you compete with them. And there are recruiters who actually ask uncomfortable questions. Fine. There are case study competitions, and Akriti can add more about that. She has got excellent exposure to that. Now, the kind of case studies, the high quality content that comes to students of IMT Ghaziabad, and I'm sure other top B schools as well, it actually poses so new, unique questions that whosoever has been through that process would surely be prepared for a VUCA world, as people commonly call it. And see, another thing, even if things change radically in the environment, you always have your professors to get back to. So I am with IMT for the last 12 years, and at times get calls from students who passed out 5 years, 6 years, 10 years back. And they want to discuss things, things that are happening in their field. And of course, whatever limited we know, we share with them, fine. So I think this is a relation that you develop with your alma mater. That goes on till the day you hang your boots.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, both of you.
Um,
A related,
yeah, just wanted to, sorry. Yeah,
please go ahead,
just
Aarti.
wanted to add to what Harvinder sir said. I think at IMT, you get to track your own trajectory, basically build your own trajectory as and when you want. So, for example, sir mentioned about case competitions. That is the path I chose to take. You know, I know friends who have built committees from scratch, and they've gained so much confidence out of it that they could build something like this from scratch. I have friends who've done 7 STPs while in being in college, apart from the internship that they've done. So these are the kind of stories you hear about people around you that motivate you and that makes you want to choose your path that you want to follow. You can customize it. And when it comes to curriculum, the faculty is so approachable. So, for example, I approached Harvinder sir and we have a case together, which is now in an international publication. So that is something which was out of the scope of what we were doing because the faculty is so, proactive and so willing to actually take up projects with students.
Congratulations to both of you, to Akriti and to Harvinder sir. So that stands as a testament of, you are getting into the right hands, right? So Vishal sir, specifically to what you said, a participant has a query. So he says, as Vishal sir mentioned, future management roles will be more tech oriented. In that scenario, is pursuing an MBA a good option for a student with a non-tech background? And that's the question.
So absolutely. So if you look at how diversified the cohort of students is getting in business schools, I think all evolved business schools across the region, across the world, are looking at diversification in many different forms, right? Diversification, not just about male and female. And of course, that's something that we're obviously looking at to be able to increase the percentage of female applicants. But at the same time, diversity is also about thought processes. Diversity is also about the skill sets. Diversity is also about the kind of courses that you've done as we go forward. So I think if you take the example of even Aditya Ghosh for that matter, right? Aditya Ghosh, he was the CEO of Indigo at one time. He was the CEO and then the board member of Oyo Rooms, at one time. If you look at his trajectory as far as career is concerned, he is a lawyer, right? And he's someone who was a general counsel. He joined Indigo. He became the CEO of the organization. Obviously, an Indigo is an airline. Its core focus is the ability of operations, the ability of ensuring technology remains intact, the ability to be able to manage teams across the entire world, for that matter, because Indigo flies internationally. So I think the fact that there's a lot more tech infusion happening into roles or jobs, or a lot more automation happening, doesn't mean that it's essentially a domain or a ground for engineers, for example, or people who've done their MCA, or people who've done their bachelor's of computer applications or whatever, or a BSc in physics or whatever, right? It's not. Finally, fundamentally speaking, at the end of the day, you'll realize that you might be process oriented or process-based leader or in charge of a process when you possibly initially join an institution, a corporate or a company, but over a period of time, you'll move on from being a process driver or a process operator into a people driver or a people operator or a people manager, right? So fundamentally at that stage, when it becomes cut to the chase, you'll be managing people across domains, right? So to your point about the fact that, more tech, does it mean requirements for more engineers? It doesn't. It requires people who once again have a certain emotionality quotient. Once again, people who are able to take tough decisions in ambiguity, right? And that's not just essentially a domain for one or two particular kind of courses or programs in the undergraduate world.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so another very nuanced question, and it shows that a lot of our aspirants have very nuanced understanding of macroeconomic factors. So very interesting question. Do you believe India has made its mark on producing management students who are interested in making their neighborhood entirely digital?
Well, once again, okay, maybe I'll give it a try, because Harvinder, if you would like to thereafter. So, I mean, there's no doubt about the fact, and this is something that is appreciated by a lot of European and Americans as well, the fact that India, because of the nature of technology and because of the nature of technology being leapfrog oriented, India has obviously taken advantage of certain systems, for example, payment systems, right? Digitization of payments, some forms of digital transformation happening in those areas, other forms of digital transformation happening as well. So fundamentally speaking, if you look at even historically, we may not have had a lot of landlines in our homes, but we had so many mobile phones thereafter and so many smartphones thereafter. So that kind of technology is also leapfrog technology, which doesn't require a previous technology. So India has obviously done rather well. And yes, if you look at the proportion of management graduates who are leading institutions and making such decisions, yes, absolutely. I think they've also been responsible for this kind of digital transformation. I think India as a nation, if I talk about, from an economic standpoint, once again, I think a lot of fragmentation exists in terms of supply chain. A lot of fragmentation exists in terms of operation, logistics, the nature of demand in localized forms. And I think digital transformation is helping to be able to bridge that, creating more standardization across.
And I think we have a wonderful example of our own alumni, Mr. Dharmil Chet. He's also contributing to digitalization of healthcare space.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
See, adding to what Dr. Talwar said, I think the bigger question is last couple of decades, a fundamental change has happened in innovation and technology. So earlier, technology used to get developed in the developed world, and then it used to be applied in the developing world. Now, developing world has its own sets of challenges, which routine solutions have not been able to. For example, banking, fine. This was one issue. So these days, in fact, developing world is now coming up with innovative solutions for serving people at the bottom of the pyramid. And interestingly, some of these innovations are actually going to the developed world now. So if you recall the Kenya's example, that digital payments, mobile payments actually started in Kenya, and then Vodafone took it to the UK market. So this is kind of a reverse movement happening. The other thing which is very important from MBA students' perspective is everyone needs not be a creator of technology. Being a smart user of technology is also very handy. I mean, you need not be an automobile engineer to be a good driver. Fine. You need to understand what technology is, how it can be put to better use, and how it can have a multiplier effect. And this understanding can come if you are a good management graduate.
And that answer comes from Sir's wisdom of teaching rural marketing and bottom of the pyramid course. So, sir, my next question actually is for you. Would you apprise our aspirants with the new modalities in IMT admission process? I think that would be they would be really curious about that.
Thanks for raising this issue, Dr. Sarkar, because most students who are a part of this audience are at that stage where it's important for them to know. I would like to believe that people who are part of this interaction have applied to. So I think their major curiosity will be how we actually go about selection process, right? So like any good business school, we have a multi-attribute selection process. We do not want to rely solely on one indicator of excellence. So you already have one indicator called your CAT score, which is valued. We give due weightage to it. We also look at your experience because your profile or role is something that would come handy. Your academic background, academic diversity, all this. When we invite you on campus, I mean, of course, we do it online. That interaction will have two components. One component is we want to understand your critical thinking abilities. So normally we expose students to a situation and then we expect them to respond or react to it. And the response can have multiple patterns. We as evaluators examine the patterns and then grade students into multiple categories. The other is personal interview, which is again a multidimensional activity. So for example, we look at the person's thought process, problem solving abilities, general awareness, attitude towards learning, modification, undergoing adaptations, communication, confidence. Overall, we are looking at someone whom we can interact with, modify, and shape up. So when we look at a candidate, we are looking at a very good raw material. We are not looking at a finished product whom we can place the very next day, because the 2 years are very important. So if you are a candidate who is positive, who is open, who is adaptive, I think IMT is the place for you. Anything else you want me to add, Juhi?
Something very related, sir. An aspirant has a question. You were talking of raw material, and the person wants to check about his or her suitability as a raw material. So the question is, how important do you think work experience is for a student going to pursue an MBA? And does a student who has never been in the field can he grasp the learning one gets from the MBA course?
See, there are two aspects to person's experience prior. I think Akriti is a good candidate to comment on this. Akriti, you were a fresher, I believe. You didn't have any work experience, am I right?
No, I had 2 years of work.
2 years, okay, fine. So I missed that part. But then if you look at the batch, nearly 40 to 45% people end up having no work experience. It has two aspects. Number one, at times your prior work experience gives you the required background information that would come handy in giving you or making you eligible for a different role where that background is required. For example, you are a good software developer, or you have good understandings of machines and systems, and there is a role that requires deep understanding of these technology systems. Think of B2B selling, IT selling, technology selling. Fine. On the other hand, work experience also make you interact with individuals, so the softer aspects of your personality are equally important. It has been observed, and data validates it, that people who have a considerable experience are actually more open to accepting things because they have seen the way things move in life in corporate. So when they come to a MBA classroom, their assimilation rate is better than someone who has not been to. Now, saying that does not mean that being a fresher is a disadvantage, because please understand, being a fresher also means you are a plain slate. So in many cases, the kind of curiosity, energy level, and adaptability or openness to change that freshers have, that's also appreciable. So it's actually a mix. It could be 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, but almost all good business school have a combination of experienced and freshers, of course, with slight majority of experienced people. Akriti, you want to say something, I believe?
Yes, I wanted to add that in our batch also, we had a mixture of freshers and experienced professionals. So I think that also gives you a lot of exposure to interact with different kinds of people. Someone who's experienced from different backgrounds, whether be from IT, whether be from fashion or other industries, and then freshers, you understand their newer perspectives and everything. But it is also important to see that freshers get enough opportunities to build experience within college. So like I was mentioning about a friend who had 7 STPs. He did that because he was a fresher, and he got those opportunities from IMT itself. Like various companies like Nivea, Godrej, all of them offered STPs, and he was selected in a lot of them. And he actually gained a lot of experience while being at IMT. So I think if we were to consider what takes you through an interview at IMT or these schools, it's about your personality, your clarity as to why you want to pursue a course, and how proactive you are while being in there in the situation or reacting to situations. It's more about your approach than an experienced or non-experienced professional.
So I hope you do understand that your suitability as a raw material is it it is not compromised. If you're a fresher, you're as good to us. Dr. Singh, so I had another question for you. Is IMT focusing on enhancing the batch diversity? And if so, how are we going about it?
So there are many dimensions to diversity. For example, being a top business school, IMT already has a regional diversity. A typical MBA class, we have to a great extent achieved some academic diversity also, though we are working on it. Gender diversity is one element on which we are working very seriously. In fact, this year, I'm glad to share that this year we plan to give 25% scholarship to all eligible women candidates who get selected. So this is a big decision by IMT. In fact, diversity has multiple aspects. For example, we have examined placement data for last few years, and we realized that certain profiles in terms of academic background, in terms of experience, actually end up attracting industry more, getting placement, getting better roles. And as a good business school, we want those numbers to go up every year. I mean, we have been able to do it very well last couple of years, despite the impact of pandemic. But we want to do it still better. So one decision that IMT as a group has taken is to look at certain profiles which are highly valued by the industry and give preferential treatment to those candidates. And we are talking specifically to academic background, and we're talking in terms of certain experience attributes. So profile-based selection is one thing we are looking at for a small number. And in fact, many top B schools in our peer group are already using it. So yes, diversity in terms of regions, in terms of culture, in terms of language, in terms of gender, in terms of roles, in terms of experience. IMT is all for it.
Thank you, sir. So now is a question which is open to all the panelists, and I think all the aspirants would want to know that. Do you have any suggestions which would help our aspirants realize their dream of being the part of IMT fraternity, our family?
Okay, so I'll give it a quick a shot. Look, I think take your interview seriously. This is something that I would definitely want you to, we would like you to focus on. Also keep in mind your achievements, right? Also keep in mind the fact that the interview could go in varied ways, varied directions. Something interesting on your profile, something interesting that you may have done in the past, whether it's curricular, extracurricular, whatever, right? So I think you need to be able to understand yourself rather well, because any question can possibly crop up. And at the same time, it is important for you to be yourself, right? Because you will not be able to, you should not ideally be representing things that you may not be, right? What you've done, if you've been a part of the NGO, have you created something, have you done something? It's important you know a lot about it, right? If you've solved a major problem, if you've, once again, curricular, extracurricular doesn't really matter. How did you go about it? I think it's important. We want to understand your thought process. We want to understand how you think, how structured your thought process might be, how imaginative you may be, how creative you may be, how communicative you may be, right? These things are very important. Don't bottle up. Do express yourself. It's very, very important. Once again, your technicality, your technical proficiency, and your proficiency as a human being in terms of the communication, in terms of behavior, in terms of your traits, both are cues and signals that are very, very important to us as we are able to build up, the diversity and, the nature of the batch that we would like. Professor Harvinder, any thoughts you might have?
I think you have covered almost everything. Just a couple of points to add. Point number one, critical thinking is another element that gives us a reflection of the way you think, how you look at things. So clarity of expression is very important. And I'll repeat, please be what you are. Do not try to be someone else, because then you don't need to make an extra effort. I mean, be honest, express yourself as what you are. The reason being, you might portray yourself as someone else for those, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But then remember, you have to be on this campus for 2 years. I mean, you cannot live a falsehood for 2 years. You are what you are. And you should take pride in what you are. Fine? Every person is unique. And honestly speaking, a wide range of attributes would actually be acceptable, because we as panelists also look for diverse personalities. We're not looking for a standard casted in stone kind of image, someone who's dressed impeccably, speaks in a particular way, thinks in a particular way. We actually want diversity in skills, attitudes, personalities. The only thing is the dysfunctional elements of personality are unwelcome. Fine. So please be what you are. Interact openly, honestly, no inhibitions, and then let's see what happens.
Thank you, panelists. Okay, one last quick question to Dr. Talwar. Sir, would you want to apprise our participants about the new initiatives? We have Center for Faculty Development, Center for Data Sciences, Center for Sports Research, and how do these align with the prospects that the aspirants would have if they join IMT?
Good, thank you. I think this is a good question. And fundamentally, the reason why this question is important is because it's all around the learning experience, right? So, whether it is about the creation of the Center for Faculty Development, right? The Center for Faculty Development essentially looks at aspects, obviously research. Research is one major element wherein faculty, new methodologies, international faculty come over, they take a lot of faculty development programs. Indian faculty come, our own faculty train our other faculty as well. And they also do this from a pedagogical standpoint, right? So there's so many newer methods. If you go back to what I was talking about earlier, blended learning approaches, hybrid approaches to learning, new forms of leadership, hybrid organizations. All this requires a lot of information exchange between faculty so that we can all go one step higher, 3 notches higher in our abilities in the classrooms, right? So that's one of the big reasons why a Center for Faculty Development exists, apart from other reasons. The Center for Data Sciences, once again, I keep on harping and on this whole idea that there's a lot of close correlation between technology, data, and how we're moving forward within the management domain. It's becoming more multidisciplinary. We keep hearing about this almost every day, right? So it's important to be able to bring that level of practice in our subjects, in our normal subjects as well. So Center for Data Sciences is there to be able to bring in different forms of latest research in the area, have a lot of faculty discussion around it, have conclaves in the artificial intelligence, machine learning space, and data in business space. So that's one of the big reasons why we're doing this. At the same time, if I look at, let's say, the Center for Enterprise and Business Improvement, right? Now, that is something that we've been focusing on. What does that do? That essentially works with the larger society. It could be NGOs, it could be private sector organization, it could be small and medium enterprises to help them solve their problems, right? So we take up consulting assignments in InsurTech, in FinTech, in many other varied domains in manufacturing, for example, and we have a faculty and students working together to solve those problems. Once again, what's happening here, your abilities in the classroom, your abilities as business leaders actually goes up if you're doing these projects. And coming back to the earlier question that Akriti talked about or spoke about, is this whole idea that when you're given these opportunities, it's not about what you're doing in the classroom, it is about what you do outside the classroom that also becomes fundamentally important. Are you engaged in projects, whether you have work experience or you don't have work experience? Are you engaged in real-time, practically driven projects mentored by the faculty in those 2 years becomes fundamentally important. Now, once again, the Center for Enterprise and Business Improvement works very closely with our research and consulting side, or the club as far as the students is concerned, to be able to fulfill those kinds of projects. So these are all initiatives, and fundamentally in our belief, they're all geared to be able to fundamentally enhance and evolve us within the classroom as we go forward.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Akriti, would you have any pearls of wisdom for the aspirants? Because I am sure they would want to hear from the horse's mouth.
Absolutely. I think when it comes to interviews per se, I think honesty goes a long way. Like Vishal sir and Harvinder sir also mentioned, be who you are. And more than that, I think enjoy the journey. It's a beautiful journey. After CAT, you worked really hard to, get good scores in CAT. Now you have interviews lined up. So, actually enjoy this phase wherein you are portraying your true self to an institution, because, it's not just you, the institution, who has to, see who you are. Even you have to see whether you fit in well with the institution as well or not. And that goes for companies as well. So I think enjoy the journey. And once you are at IMT, you'll get plethora of opportunities to, actually transform yourself into an individual you would not recognize after 2 years. I don't recognize myself, what I was 2 years back and what I am now. I think, and it all goes to the opportunities that we get in terms of case competitions, in terms of projects, in terms of faculty-led projects and initiatives. It's clubs and committees, whether be your events like Passion, Chakravyuh, whatever is there. I think there's a lot waiting for you. So just focus on the interview. I think that's the main advice that I would give to them.
So, Professor Juhi, I'm very surprised there are no questions on placement statistics and everything else. I mean, or maybe they've already been answered, or they've already gone onto the website and publicly available information exists.
Interesting, or maybe their preferences, the aspirants' preferences have evolved beyond placements.
Yeah.
Oh, there is one
Just
question
to give you
now.
a bit of a heads up, I think for those who are obviously not yet gone to the website or a formal means of communication on social media, IMT Ghaziabad has obviously seen around a 39.6% increase over the last 2 years as far as its salary packages are concerned. So, we currently, if anybody is interested in the average, we're currently at 17.35 lakhs, which has been an average. Last year it was about 15.28 lakhs. So there's been a growth over last year as well. The various reasons for it, obviously, it's preparation. It's about how we work with the students. It's about individualized attention, alignment of the roles and the jobs, and of course, as we go forward, the sky is the limit. If you look at a median currently, it stands at 16 lakhs for this particular placement cycle. Our highest package is about 65.6, if I'm not wrong. Other interesting statistics you should normally look at is possibly, let's say, the top 10, top 20, top 30% of the students, what kind of salaries they've been getting. So if I look at, let's say, our top 10%, students, that average stands for more than 29 point something lakhs. Our top 20% in the classroom stands at more than about 25 lakhs. I'm rather happy and proud, of the team, the placement committee, placement team, to say that, our top 40 odd percent are all, upwards of 20 lakhs. So I think this is something, these are statistics that, some people would like to look at. And of course, this is all information that you can look at our website. So that's all I wanted to mention here, Professor Juhi.
Thank you, sir. I hope our participants now have a more informed choice to make. They have data to, support their choice. But then no decision is good or bad. It is what you make of it. So I hope the discussion that we had with our panelists today would help you in making a conscious and informed choice about your career. All the very best to all the aspirants. Thank you so much, all the panelists. Thank you to the aspirants for being with us. I now hand over the baton to IMT Nagpur team. All yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Juhi ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Juhi ma'am. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you very much in joining our Director's Cut session. My name is Apeksha Akhande, and I am moderator of this session for IMT Nagpur. I would like to introduce today's speaker for IMT Nagpur, our Director, Sir Dr. Bigyan Verma. Dr. Verma taught finance at XLRI, one of the top B schools in India, for a decade, and thereafter worked for JM Morgan Stanley as a senior investment banker. He was an adjunct professor for Carleton University in Canada and a visiting faculty at IIM Kozhikode for several years. He worked closely with the Securities and Exchange Board of India and the National Stock Exchange. Dr. Verma holds a PhD in finance, MBA with specialization in strategy and finance, Master in Business Economics from Delhi University, and is a gold medalist in Master of Commerce. He has authored 2 books, one on international finance and recently published another one titled Managing Work in Digital Economy. He has also published more than 45 papers in national and international journals of repute. Dr. Verma held several honorary positions, including President of Indian Association of Autonomous Business Schools, EC member for NHRD, Mumbai chapter, EC member for Bombay Management Association, and Joint Secretary for Indo-American Society. He is also on the Board of Studies for Pune University in India. Dr. Verma joined IMT Nagpur as Director in July 2022. Now, I would request Director Sir to take over the session.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Apeksha.
Thank you, sir.
Greetings from IMT Nagpur, and I wish each one of you a very, very happy new year. My colleagues, Dr. Sarabjit and Professor Sayan Mukherjee, they have joined here for this session. And it is indeed an honor for me and my colleagues to take you through a short presentation on IMT Nagpur. But before I do that, let me just set the context for this particular session as such. You know, our country, India, has more than 100 unicorns valued at more than $350 billion. And it is the third largest unicorn base in the world as on today. We are all aware of the GDP of about $3 trillion, over $3 trillion. And we're all set to touch the $5 trillion very soon. Our country is expected to be one of the top 3 economic powers in the world in the next 10 to 15 years. And I'm sure many of you would have read the news that India overtook the UK's GDP and has become the 5th largest economy in the world as such. Over 50% of the population, which includes all of you, almost 700 million of our population is under the age of, or within the age bracket of 20 to 30 years. So I would say, like the world says that India is the youngest nation and full of talent and entrepreneurs. And that's going to make a longer difference. COVID-19 is already behind us, and it did make a lot of, it's literally stalled all functioning in the world. But it also has made a lot of impact on the business schools in terms of emerging trends, like the business schools now have to be interdisciplinary, because things have changed. There's a change in the format. Even Harvard has adopted a format, what we call as FIELD, which is an acronym of Field Immersion Experience for Leadership and Development. There's a lot of focus on competency-based outcomes. It's not just the education, but the competency which should lead to a particular outcome is being focused. People are talking about the big ideas in all business schools, and ethics today has become of huge importance. Somebody said, like, you might be hardworking, you might be very intelligent, but if you're not ethical, the third one, that the ethics will kill the first two, So the B schools have to be different. So what should aspiring student like you look at for making a choice? I looked into many options, and I thought the B school in today's world, especially after COVID-19, has to focus on certain things like, does the institution provide the experiential knowledge? Because this is something which will be remembered by many for years together. Does the institution focus on critical inquiry for deep thinking, reflective thinking as such? Or is just any ordinary course like a typical graduate course? Or does it focus on entrepreneurial thinking? For me, Peter Drucker, many of you would have probably heard of this gentleman's name, is the greatest management thinker of the 20th century. And almost about 50 years back, he said that the society is moving from more predictive to a more challenging and demanding entrepreneurial society. Now, it really doesn't mean that everybody should become an entrepreneur, but one should definitely have the entrepreneurial spirit, slog, innovate 24/7, and that kind of mindset. Now, should you be worried about this? Should you regret that the gradual vanishing of the golden cage that your parents and institution built for you for years is going away? Don't worry about that, because the entire education system, at least in good business schools like IMT Nagpur, has changed to make sure that you get this entrepreneurial mindset, even if you don't become an entrepreneur. And Drucker said that we cannot manage change, you must go ahead it. First in your minds, and then your practice, and then in your lives. So that's the kind of importance on entrepreneurial mindset. And finally, what really matters for any one of you is the returns and investment from the placement. The amount of money, effort, time you spend, are you getting the right kind of return? Now that return should be judged definitely from what you get immediately and what you will, be ready to see in the years to come as such. So while introducing IMT Nagpur, one of the most incredible institutions in central India, I'll demonstrate how we are evolving with changing needs, especially after COVID-19. How do we create leaders? How do we groom our students? And what do we do to engage corporate leaders? Now for that, I just want to quote before I start my presentation, because there's a presentation we'd like to take you through. Obviously, a lot of information will be available on the website, but there are a lot many things which you'll see from this particular presentation. I like to quote Jack Welch, the former CEO of and chairman of General Electric, and he said, "When the rate of change outside exceeds the rate of change inside, the end is in the sight." So therefore, each one of you will have to look at an institution, pick up a business school which has changed, which has evolved, and which is churning out students who's going to be relevant for the days to come as such. So just give me a minute, I'll upload my presentation. Apeksha, you will tell me, has it come? Apeksha? Okay.
Yes, it's visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it's there.
All right. So this is a short presentation, and I'd like to take you through as to what IMT Nagpur is all about. And as I mentioned, that there are a lot of information which may be available on the website, but there are a lot of other things which will be relevant and of a huge importance to each one of you. I have a very well set up agenda which I'll follow in this particular presentation. I'll give an overview of IMT Nagpur and the kind of academic programs and the placement statistics and so on and so forth. That's how we. Now, before we start, I'd like to, tell you that we are driven by our own vision, mission, and values as such. Now, if you look into the vision, there's something written in red. We believe in innovative management education. Now, why do I say innovative? Because even if you look into the 2-year program over here for all, courses, there are a lot of innovative components which we keep on bringing just to make sure that we remain relevant. We have a mission to provide you an industry-driven curriculum. And that's the reason why, that's how we get in touch with a lot of corporate people from all over the world to make sure that we design a very relevant curriculum. And of course, the values are absolutely integral. They are the principles of IMT Nagpur, and it's definitely led by what we call as the integrity. We have a beautiful campus in the city of Nagpur, which is also known as the Orange City. It's the 3rd largest city in the country. The campus is spread over about 27 acres, and it's so full of green. The foliage, the lovely trees. You will see beautiful birds around you. Now, when you get up early in the morning, you'll feel fresh because of the clean air you will get in this particular place as such. We have almost all top accreditations of the country. In fact, the all top accreditations of the country, which includes not just we are AICTE approved right since 2006, but our PGDM programs are equivalent to a MBA, especially for the further higher studies as such. That's given by the Association of Indian Universities. Now, this is extremely crucial. Remember, PGDM, there's a lot of talk which goes on about PGDM, whether it is equivalent to MBA, and it is actually not equivalent to MBA at many places. But at least for IMT Nagpur, our PGDM programs are equivalent to MBA for the higher studies. All our programs are NBA accredited. We have submitted SAR for the PGDM Finance. We will get the NBA accreditation for PGDM Financial Management also very soon. We've also been accredited by an international accrediting body called SACS, and we have become a member of AACSP, the topmost accrediting body in the world, and the initial self-evaluation report has already been accepted. The 3 programs we run are PGDM, PGDM Marketing, and PGDM Financial Management. Now, in all these programs, the students can specialize in 1 or 2 areas. Like in case of PGDM program, you can specialize in 2 areas. But in case of PGDM Marketing, you can also specialize in 2 areas. But the marketing has to be the first specialization areas. And like that, you do it in the financial management also. And of course, the functional areas there's 7 of them. And it really embraces everything which the world demands today: marketing, finance, HR, OB, operations, economics, and business analytics. Now, these are the spectrum of specializations students can pick up. Maybe they can just specialize in one area. They can have a dual specialization, one major, one minor. So all kinds of combinations are available. What we do is that we give a menu to the students. You pick up depending upon your aptitude, depending upon your liking and the world, and depending upon the way the world is changing as such. Now, here in this particular slide, I want you to just focus on the Flexi Core elective. Right in the beginning, we mentioned that we provide innovative management education. Now, the Flexi Core elective, which is provided in the first year itself, is probably unique to IMT Nagpur. Not many business schools, and I'm not really aware of any business school which is following this. Right in the first year itself, we expose students before they go for the internship to some kind of elective, some kind of specialization areas in which they would like to build their career as such. Now, that's called Flexi Core, and a whole lot of options are given to the students. They can pick up from there, right? The teaching and learning process focuses on, because I mentioned right in the beginning, there's a lot of focus on what we call as experiential learning. So when the students come in, they come in from all walks of life. There's some BCom students, there are some science students, there are some engineers, so all walks of life. So there are foundation courses which are offered to make sure that all of them are on the same platform. So a BCom student may not be very familiar with math courses. We teach that. A science student may not be very familiar with accounting. So we teach that as a part of the foundation courses. And we are one of the few institutions in the country which actually teaches students using Harvard cases or Ivy League cases. It's an expensive proposition for us, but nonetheless, we don't want to compromise on that. We have a large number of business simulation labs, because this is what we call the experiential learning. You know, simulation, a kind of a simulated environment is created, because when you walk out of this place and work for an organization, that's a challenge. That's where you will have to meet the challenge. Now, we create that environment in the labs and expose you to realities as such. Other than project and assignments and all, we also have arrangements we've collaborated with KPMG, IBM, National Stock Exchange for certificates. Now, when you look into all these things, what we are trying to tell you that we don't want to leave anything at all to ensure that you're prepared before you walk out of this place as such. Look at these lab-based courses. Now, all these courses have evolved depending upon the changing needs as such, right? From business analytics to big data analytics to data visualization. And it really doesn't really make any difference at all, whether you are an engineer or not. You may be a graduate in commerce, you may be a graduate in science, or it really doesn't make any difference. Our faculty are so, equipped to, educate you, to prepare you with all, the nuances of these technical courses, which have become extremely relevant in today's world. Now, we also offer many experiential learnings based on the courses designed for various business functions like investment, for stock markets, for marketing, for leadership. Now, all these things are being done to ensure that you get the real life feeling of what happens in the world. Innovative courses are being launched time and again every year, just to keep ourselves updated with the contemporary, the real world as such. Look into finance. We offer courses in digital finance. We also offer courses on RAVS, the risk analysis and valuation of securities, or behavioral finance, or financial analytics. Now, for all specialization areas, for all functional areas, we keep on updating courses just to make sure that our students remain relevant for the industry when they walk out and work. How do we do that? We have 35 plus core and adjunct faculty members, a team of extremely experienced, well-researched, faculty who come from, institutions all over the world. And we have visiting faculty, and they are handpicked from the corporate because they are specialists in a domain and they come and teach. So we are driven by a group of faculty who are extremely passionate and committed, and not just India. We get even people from abroad and from IIMs who come and teach at our institution. So that's how we educate our students. Look at the contributions of faculty. They are mentors, researchers, visiting faculty of IIMs, trainers, and consultant results. They are the ones who share their experience, they share their knowledge with the students, and that's where it makes a lot of difference for all of us. Our campus, as I mentioned right at the beginning, is spread over 27 acres. It's a fully residential campus. We've got 4 hostel blocks. Everywhere you have Wi-Fi facilities. Lovely library resource center with 32,500 books and a huge playground. In fact, 2 football grounds and 1 cricket ground and badminton court and basketball and whatnot, just to make sure that you remain physically fit also. Large mess, and doctors are of course there on the campus 24/7 and with the ambulance facility just in case somebody falls sick, and a lady nurse for the girl students as well. Look at these. These are some pictures which I wanted to have a look at of our hostel buildings and the campus, a little away from Nagpur. The lecture rooms, we have 18 lecture rooms. They are tiered lecture rooms, as you can see here. Everybody has a wonderful view of the faculty and a good control by the faculty of the students also. Every room is air conditioned. The gymnasium has almost all modern equipment, and not to mention medical facilities, which I mentioned along with the doctor. Now, the Learning Resource Center is again a state of the art. You've got all kinds of facilities, including the e-journals or the e-data resources which help students to do the research on their own. Just to be relevant, to make sure that we get the information from you get the experiences from the speakers from the industry. Every now and then, you'll probably find at least 1 or 2 speakers every week from the industry. Look at the number of speakers which come. They come all the way from Bombay, Delhi, abroad, and they come and share the experience with the students. Our convocation is a superb, one of the best experiences which the students get over here. Every year we invite the top, corporate stalwarts. Like this year, for last year convocation in the month of November 16th, Mr. Gautam Singhania was here. Other than that, you can see Mukesh Ambani, Azim Premji, Kumar Mangalam Birla, Keshtu Mahendra, and all of them have been here every year. So that's how we are also get noticed by the top corporate in the country. We stick our students for the industrial visits, the local industrial visits. The faculty members, of course, are the mentors, and they make sure that they get the best of the experience of the industries. One of the, I would say, a flagship, one of the cornucopia of this entire thing, our program is the International Exchange Program. Like every year, the students, obviously during the COVID time, it did not happen because of the reasons all known to you. But then this year itself, there are a few students who have gone to France. Now we've got tie-up with, as you can see, some of the pictures we received, and with these 2 French students. And we've got international tie-ups with business schools from almost large number of countries in Europe, North America, right from Australia, Austria, Australia, Brazil, and whatnot. Now, this is where the students go and get the best of the experience. Now, the students who have gone to France this year, they're actually going to spend the entire semester over there. So they'll remain there for 3-4 months, and then only they come back here. So that's the kind of exposure our students get from global immersion as such. The campus is run by, to be very honest with you, the campus is run by the students. To be, the faculty members and directors are just for the academic matters and all overall discipline issues. Otherwise, everything is run by the students, with the help of various clubs, committees, and whatnot. Now, this gives them a huge amount of exposure to how things should be managed. As you can see, things like Campus Oxygen or Pratna or Frost and Run, Zero Mile, these are, so we have almost about 7 core committees. The placement is being run by the students. We have a placement team, of course, but there's huge amount of involvement of placement members from the students, and then the corporate interaction committee, things like that. So like that, almost you can see here, about 20-30 committees are here in which the students are actively involved, and they organize also big events like Milestone, 35, Melange, and so on and so forth. And they invite students from all over the country. Students from business, IIMs and other institutions also come and be a part of these kinds of events as such. Fees is aware, of course, is given there in the website, but I just like to clarify in the sense like our fees for a 2-year program is all inclusive 14.5 lakhs. So 14 lakhs, 50,000 rupees of fees, which includes hostel charge, mess charge, security deposit, and the academic fees also. And other than that, look at the liberal scholarship. There are not too many business schools which will offer you this kind of liberal scholarships to the students. We give a total fee waiver to almost about up to 5% of the approved intake as per the AICTE guidelines. Then there's a scholarship of 40% for the students who are admitted and have a CAT or ZAT score of 90 percentile and above, or GMAT score of 650 and above. Other than that, there's again a very liberal scholarship for all the female students under who they get scholarship of about 20%. Just want to make a quick presentation about the placement report, what we've done so far. The placement is still going on. The highest package offered is 20.14 lakhs per year. The average has been about 10.6, and the median package has been about 10. And we are all set to do much better in the days to come as such. Percentage of batch placed compared to 19 to 21, we've done very well last year also. 100% of the students were placed, and this year we've already placed 85%, and in another few days, couple of weeks, we'll achieve 100% placement well before the end of the month of January 2023. Highest package for 1920, as you can compare, have we done well? Yes, we've done well. In 1921, just about 2 years back, we had a highest package of about 16 lakhs. It went up to 23 lakhs. We've reached 20.14, and soon we will exceed what we did in the last year such. So as you can see, there's a clear trend of upward movement in terms of the compensation which the students can get, the returns on investment which I was talking about. Then with regard to the average packages also, as you can see a clear trend going up from just about 7.94 in 1921 to 10 lakhs last year, and then we are already on 10.6, and the placement is still in the process. And we will touch about 11 lakhs in the days to come as such. Median package has been about, again, it shows a good, impressive growth from 7.15 lakhs to 9 lakhs and 10 lakhs, which we have already achieved so far. The top 10 average is about 15.63. The top 20 average is about 13.94, and top 30 average is about 13.17, which is much better than what we did last year. And that's how we are progressing year after year. We place almost about 15% of our students in consulting assignments and then BFSI and so. So look into the gamut. Our students are going everywhere, and that's where they make the difference. In fact, the largest three sectors, the BFSI, consulting, and IT and ITS constitute almost about 60% of the total placement in our institution as such. What are the kinds of profiles which are offered to the PGDM marketing management students? They are joining as product management officer or buying and merchandising officer or analyst or supply in the area of supply chain or corporate training like that. And these are the companies which pick up our students, the big names from the industry. And they've been coming here year after year just because they believe in our students, just because they know that our students are extremely committed. And just because we make sure that they are molded to suit the requirement of the industry as such. This is the profile which is offered to the finance students, right from business analyst to financial services consultant and like that. And these are the companies which come for finance recruitment. CRISIL, KPMG, these are all big names, and they come to the campus with excellent packages, and they pick up students, and a large number of students spend a good amount of time in these organizations. The profiles for HR and business analysts, analytics and IT and operations profiles are mentioned over here, right? And these are the companies, the big ones, the big names in these areas, in analytics or in operations. They're the ones who come and pick up our students. In terms of summer placement, the internship report, here it is. Highest stipend has been cracked by one of our students who is getting 150,000 rupees for just 2 months of internship. The average stipend for 2 months of internship has been 41,000 plus, and for median is about 30,000. Now this is again much better than what. And the most incredible thing is that one of our students received a pre-placement offer of 22.25 lakhs last month itself. Now this boy has not yet completed his program. He still has a year long to go, but he's already got the offer. So from one of the corporates. Again, A large number of students are going to the BFSI, and other than huge, highly diverse sectors they walk into and then work over there. Major companies which have visited us is CRISIL, Dalmia, Morgan Stanley, like that. And not to mention, we got 4,500 plus alumni spread all over the country and the world. We work with a three-pronged strategy of what we call as discover, reconnect, and inspire. And that's how we ensure that alumni remain connected with us, and they are a big support to our institution as such, through what we call as the alumni lectures, expert se pooch, or alumni diaries or melange. Our idea is to make sure that they will remain an integral part of the institute, IMT Nagpur, and they walk into anything and everything which we do in the days to come as such. So how do we, what is our best practice? The best practice is kind of summarized in what we call the knowing, doing, and being. Everyone is focusing on knowing and doing. Knowing is through the classes, doing is through internship and all. But here at IMT Nagpur, we make sure that you are, transformed. You become, one of the most successful leaders in the coming days as such. So we focus a lot on being through what we call as experiential learning, right? And all types of experiential learning with the help of labs or factory visits or industry visits or sensitization to the society and whatnot. And it's a student-driven campus. You will not probably see it in many institutions as such. The excellent placement opportunities, thanks to the placement team, which is doing an excellent work. And we work very closely with organizations to make sure that the managerial potential is developed. Placement trainings are being offered to make sure that the students are, kind of groomed properly to face the interviews. And most of all, it's a safe and a very healthy campus. And almost all students just love it. They miss the campus once they go out of this place. So thank you so much. And questions, Apeksha, if there are questions, I have my colleagues with me, and they will join me in handling those questions, Apeksha.
Yes, sir. So on behalf of students, I'd like to ask you that could you please, or Singh sir or Science sir, can they explain the selection procedure?
Sign, over to you.
Okay. Now, as far as selection process is concerned, we follow in IMT group as such, and IMT Nagpur, a system of equal opportunity and merit-based selection process. So if you are meritorious, it doesn't matter where you come from, what your financial abilities and other things may be, you will be welcome in our institute. And this is the philosophy that we work with. Now, as far as the process is concerned, the process, I think there has been some webinars and there will be a few more giving you the detail, but it essentially based on certain parameters that we take into consideration. And therefore, we assess your overall fit into the program and also your potential to get placed and do well in future as well. So what we take into consideration is obviously the test scores, the CAT, XAT, CMAT, and GMAT. We also look into your academic background till your graduation, starting from your 10th standard, so all your scores. We look into academic diversity, your background, whether you are an engineer or a non-engineering background. We also look at the pedigree, what kind of institute you have done your graduation and others things from. We take into consideration the work experience that you have, even though it's not a compulsory requirement. But in our institute, as far as the placement is concerned, we have seen both types of students are demanded by the industry and the corporate. Some insist that they should have some amount of work experience. They want to place them at a mid-level or somewhere. And some, especially the startups and all, they want people who are freshers, who do not come with any past baggage of their previous experience and they do not want to waste time in remolding them in their work environment. So considering this, that we need both kind of students, there is some score given for the work experience. Again, it is very carefully measured. It's not a random activity. But please remember that's not an absolute necessity. Along with all these things, we also take into consideration some of the exceptional achievements that you may have shown in the past, whether in terms of your curricular or co-curricular activities, extracurricular activities. For example, if you have volunteered for some work with some internationally reputed NGOs, if you have represented your state at a national level, or maybe at an international level, your country. So sports, your activities and involvement in fields of voluntary work, social work, if you have achieved tremendous feat in terms of certain co-curricular activities like winning maths Olympiad or something, we also take that into consideration. So our assessment in the initial selection process takes into consideration so many things. And of course, there would be other factors, especially your performance in the personal interview process. And there would be something called a critical analysis. There would be an exercise for it. The detail we will discuss in a separate webinar. So all you need to understand is getting into IMT Nagpur is a task that's not easy. We are not one of those B schools where have money, get degree sort of things. We select our students very thoroughly, rigorously, consciously, making sure that each one of you who sit in the classroom contribute in the learning process and development of not just you, but also your classmates. So if you keep these things in mind, I assure you, you have a fair chance to be part of this wonderful institute called IMT Nagpur, right? Thanks.
Apeksha, I'd like to add something.
Yes, sir.
What I'm saying is everybody stands a very good chance to get into IMT Nagpur, provided he's eligible. And he or she does extremely well in the interviews. We look at simple things. We look into confidence. We look into communication skills. We look into the entrepreneurial skills. Mindset. We look into how confident the student is. So prepare for the interviews also. That's and that's really going to help a lot. Such.
Yes, sir.
So can I add one point? Again, I will also say that be yourself. Don't try to be over smart or say anything which you are not. So that is very important while facing an interview. Remaining things are covered by my colleagues. And I also say all the best to all of you.
So one of the student has a query. They want to know is there any international exposure that is being provided to students studying in IMT Nagpur?
I mentioned in my presentation that every year we stopped because of the COVID for the last 2 years, but we've started again. And for the past several years, our students have been going. Of course, there are certain terms and conditions for those global immersion. And this year, our students have gone to France. Some of the students have gone to France, and they're going to spend the entire semester over there. It's not just a week or 2 weeks visit and they come back. It's not that. They will go through the entire semester over there, complete the course, take the examinations, and then only come back here. So that's a kind of exposure. Intensive exposure is provided to them. Many times, foreign students also come over here and they do the entire term over here.
Yes, sir.
Can I add something?
Please.
Presently, we have more than 27 MOU signs with various institutes in Europe, US, and not for last 2 years because of COVID. Many were not working, but slowly many institutes are inviting our students. And there is some minimum requirement, as Sir has said. And there is no tuition fees to be paid by the student while they go there and attend one semester. So we have, and we are hopeful that the things will improve in coming months and many students will go for international exchange.
Yes, sir. So our next question is, Does analytics specialization good for non-engineering students?
Dr. Singh, can you take it up?
Yes, I can add here that many of our BCom students are doing better than the engineers in analytics courses. And this is not like that engineers only can learn these courses. If you are good in number crunching, I can assure you, you can do great, better than engineers. So that's not a problem at all.
So one a query stating that to what extent is industrial exposure being provided to IMT students?
So
We provide industry exposure in a number of ways. We take students for the industry visits, one. Many times when it is not possible to take for the industry visits, we call those industry people over here. And as you can see, more than 100 plus speakers walk, or like guest speakers come from the industries and spend some time with the students and all. And other than that, not only some internship does fill into that gap, but we do also, a couple of events known as Voice and Pantheon, and they are essentially meant for the a large number of corporate startups come and participate in that. And it's a 2-day event. Both of them are 2 days event. And recently we concluded Voice, and about 30-40 startup entrepreneurs, they came and spent some time with the students. So they give exposure to the students to come and visit them. And we live in a city, by the way, which is surrounded by SMEs and MSMEs and many corporate. So we are very, very aware of the fact that yes, industry exposure has to be an integral part of the entire curriculum as such.
Sir, can I add a little bit?
Please do.
Yeah, because as I was saying, in each course, we have 2 sessions allotted for corporate guests so that they can share their experience with the students. It not only makes the theory with practice, this is another thing which we do. And we have special conclave for CXO, CEOs, CFOs, which is basically Drishtikon, which is also totally run by the students. You will be surprised to know that most of these guests are invited by students, handled by students, and even later on also students are always in touch with them. That's all from my side. Yeah.
So, student wants to know that does it make any difference if they take gap of an year after graduation and then they come to pursue their post-graduation from IMT Nagpur?
Professor Sain, you want to say something, please?
As far as gap year is concerned, what essentially would be the reason for gap is a crucial factor, whether that would become an issue or not. Say, for example, if you have a gap year because of, let's say, academic difficulties and all, okay, that may not become an issue per se in the selection process. But if you have a gap year for those educational difficulties and all, placement can become an issue. So we generally would advise that if it's a gap due to academic difficulties, you have to really do something extraordinary in other ways to compensate for it. But if it's a gap for some other reasons, let's say health purpose, okay, or you just try out a new venture, you thought that you have cracked an extraordinary idea, you start up a business, and then somehow it may not have worked, but you came back and finished your education and all, I would say that may not be a problem. In fact, that could be a part of your exceptional profile requirement. So the gap per se is not a problem or an advantage either. It's the reason because of which it has happened. Okay? So
And,
that's what we would say.
Yeah.
And also, even from the placement point of view, I've interacted with a lot of companies. It really doesn't matter too much of 1 or 2 years of gap. As long as the student can justify it properly. Maybe the couple of companies insist on no gap whatsoever. But then most of the organizations don't really bother about it.
Sir, there's one more question. Student wants to know which one would be, they want to know about the major, minor and dual specialization, and also which one would be better, and with what combination?
Dr. Singh?
It depends upon the students' liking also, because we can't say some students who are very great in numbers, they might be interested in finance, and also the background matters. So there are various factors which decide your major and minor. We have 3 programs, as sir has told. In PGDM, they can take their major later, but in marketing, your major would be always marketing. But in minor, either you can take finance, analytics, HR. Nowadays, many students prefer to take analytics as well as marketing together, because many companies are looking for both data as well as market research. So that is another combination which is very popular. In finance also, many students are preferring nowadays finance as well as marketing both, because they want to go for both the things. So it depends upon your liking, which you can decide after term 3, because generally the electives are taken in the term 3. And we have dual specialization, which helps students to go at least for 2 specializations. And in case of PGDM, they can have 2 major specialization also. That option is also possible. So it depends which program you are. Generally for major specialization, they have to take 6 courses, and for minor, they can manage with 4 courses, minimum requirement.
You know what, Dr. Singh, I always tell students, the prospective students, that, don't bother too much about specialization.
Yes.
Because it's only when you go through the first year of the courses, which essentially, which essentially consists of core courses, you get an idea as to what do you really like the most. Do you like finance, marketing, HR, whatever, And not to mention that the world is also changing a lot. We live in a world which is called as a VUCA world. It's not volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. In fact, VUCA stands for the virus-infested world. You never know the way the world will change. So hold on. Enter the MBA program or PGDM program with an open slate, open mind, and then see how the world is changing and where does your interest lie. And then accordingly, you decide what is to be done. Of course, faculty members are the greatest mentors, and they will guide you all along to make sure that you take the right decision.
Sir, I was asked frequently asked questions like, what is a profile-based selection?
As far as profile-based selection is concerned, as I have said, that we have several criteria on the basis of which initial screening happens. So one of those criteria is the percentile that you scored in either CAT, XAT, CMAT, or GMAT. But as I also mentioned, if you have achieved something quite extraordinary during the past few years, during your graduation, during your school years and all, we are willing to make certain exceptions to the minimum cutoff requirements. They may not be significant. It's not that if your CAT percentile is 10% less than the cutoff, we'll still consider, but there would be a relaxation. So the point is, if you are getting screened at the first level, it is not merely the CAT-XAT percentile, but CAT-XAT percentile plus something else. And that plus something else is what we call profile-based selection process. Okay.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to ask Vidya ma'am, can you explain a bit about SIPs?
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with each one of you. We have really done well with regards to our SIPs this year. Some phenomenal companies with brilliant profiles that have walked into the campus. We've made sure that we are upgrading ourselves in terms of the role, the performance of the students, and the kind of learnability that is coming up to their tables, right? So we are speeding up their learning processes. We are speeding up their experiential learning processes. and SIPs, students have really done well. Well, compared to the last year, if you look at the SIPs, we are way ahead of our targets this year. And as I mentioned, some brilliant names on the charts that have hired our students. So we've really scaled up our SIPs, and for the students who are going to come next year, I'm sure they will have some brilliant more names to be added on to the kitty.
And the final placement too.
Yes, of course. They asked for some SIPs, so I mentioned about SIPs. Of course, goes without saying.
Thank you, Vidya ma'am. One of frequently asked question is, how do we prepare students for final placement interviews?
Okay.
Vidya, why don't you
Yeah. All right. So it's a very critical thing for the students to be ready, industry ready, and the kind of dynamics that the industry is wanting. We really need to upscale ourselves. And at IMT Nagpur, the best thing that happens is students start getting trained from day zero, the day they enter the campus. So there are various levels of intervention that happen. So the first level that the intervention happens is where they start breaking the ice, and they start talking to the corporate, they start meeting them, they start understanding what is the requirement that the corporates have. That's the first level. The second level is where their resumes are made, their personal branding. We do workshops on personal branding. We do workshops on how they can select a specialization, what goes into preparation for summer internships. Then followed by, we do a complete analysis of them through REST analysis, reflective evaluation, strategy, and training. That plays a very, very critical role. One-on-one, every student goes through this churning. And then the external agencies come in to train the students, whether it is specialist training or soft skills training or technical training. Faculties at every interview, before every interview process, run through the entire job description, run through the requirements, make sure the students are ready for the interview process. There are rigorous continuous boot camps that happen. There is continuous interactions with the alumni that happen. Even the corporates who are hiring, they also do come in and give their insights. So it's placement cannot be a one-day program. It is very, very strategic. It has to evolve over a period of time. And when students come to us, they are like raw clay, and we really need to give them that shape which is industry ready. So the need for the R that we have is a plug and play model, where whenever a corporate IMT Nagpur, they say, wow, this is what we were looking for. And we've had some brilliant testimonials coming from some amazing organizations, and that really, really gives us a boost in terms of our placements and performance.
And we also get a huge amount of support from the alumni of our own institution, not to mention the alumni of the entire IMT group.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am. So there is one more frequently asked question stating that, is there any special preparation required for selection procedure for IMT Nagpur?
Okay, if I may take that question. As Sarabjit sir has already mentioned, as a part of your preparation, one of the things you need to remember is not to pretend, not to project yourself in a way that you are not. And it's not just for IMT Nagpur. I'm sure you will be appearing for more than one interviews. In any of the interviews, please be real. Do not try to project yourself to be a person of certain caliber that you may not have. Do not exaggerate your achievements. Do not try to beat around the bush. Do not divert the question and the direction of the question. And very, very important, please listen carefully to the questions that are being asked. One of the examples I can give you right away is when we interview a student and we ask that introduce yourself with certain information which is not there in your profile. you fill up your application form where the profile details are to be given. And then you start saying, my name is this, I have done my graduation in BCom from this college with this percentage. We understand you lack seriously in your listening power, right? The question was not about introducing yourself, but giving us some additional information beyond your profile details. That could be the pointer from where we can start asking you a question. Apart from this, maybe very archaic, maybe very outdated to this Gen Z or whatsoever you call yourself, but please read the editorial pages of important newspapers. The editorial pages not only give you the latest of the happenings in the field of business, finance, economy, politics, society, and all, but it also gives you an idea as to how to describe, analyze, and discuss an issue without taking any particular stand. How to be very objective in analyzing and be very, very balanced in developing an opinion. And this is a skill you need to develop, not just for the interview, but probably all your life. How not to be biased, how not to be prejudiced, how to have a very objective and scientific outlook towards life, and be very, very balanced about opinion forming. So I would advise that start reading the editorial pages of newspapers, important and well-read in national newspapers preferably. That would help you in various ways. And during the interview, just be real, just be yourself, and you'll be absolutely fine, right?
Thank you, sir.
Can I add one line? Yeah. One thing which I always say is be positive, and if you don't know the answer, please say right away no. Don't try to give anything which you don't know. That will always help you.
Can I come in? I just have one line for them, if you allow.
Anyone?
Well-read is well-bred. So if you are well-read, you are well-bred. So the bottom line for getting into IMT Nagpur is you need to be well-read, and on all the fronts, like Science sir mentioned, your general knowledge, your current affairs, your conceptual knowledge, all needs to be brushed up before you're coming to the campus, because the moment you're into the campus, your rigor starts. That the rigor will happen after 15 days or 20 days, or you will get that luxury. The moment you're in campus, the rigor begins.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So we want to know that do we have any course related to digital product management?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
We have introduced this as an elective last year itself, and I'm happy to report a lot of students have opted for these electives and they are very, very happy with it. Possibly this would have more subscription next year. And I don't know whether this is the right platform to talk about it, but we are also looking for making some important changes in our program structure and all. So for all the practical reason that elective can also become a core course, where every one of you can get a chance to get an exposure to digital product management and digital product development sort of things. And not just this, we have courses on consultancy as well, right? How to deal with the different stages of consultancy. We have a course on Python, right? We
Absolutely.
use some of the very advanced simulation softwares for courses like strategy implementation and all. There's a world of excitement as far as learning process is concerned, and they are all cutting edge. We have a course on digital coins and digital currency. We have a Bitcoin related courses. Anything that is happening in the world of business, finance, economy, and there is a need that is felt that the student should know about it, it is there. Please visit our website, go to our program structure and see for yourself that these courses are very much there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, Apeksha, I mentioned right in the beginning that we want to be contemporary, we want to be relevant.
Yes.
We don't want to churn our students who are not really relevant and who have outdated knowledge. The way things are changing. So our faculty have been introducing absolutely new courses, right from blockchain to digital coin to whatnot, just to make sure that we produce absolute relevant students in the days to come.
Apeksha,
Yes, sir.
I think we can take one or two more questions because it's almost time for IMT Hyderabad.
Right.
Maybe one or
Fine.
two questions and we should wind up.
Fine, sir. Sir, can you please explain importance of lab-based courses related to IT opportunities?
Okay. Yep, Sabjit.
Okay.
Lab-based courses.
Yes. As Professor San was telling, we have a lot of courses which are basically, we have two kind of lab-based courses. One is basically totally based on analytics. Like we have our course on R, we have course on Python, we have a course on Tableau also, and even SPSN and SAS. All these will help you in jobs related to data analytics. Nowadays, the world of big data, so we have courses on that. Even we have a tie-up with IBM, where they provide a certificate to the students who complete that course. So these courses will help them in getting the jobs, not only in analytics area, but other areas also, because nowadays data is a part of each and every area. Plus, we have some other lab-based course like marketing lab, where students are given an opportunity. They visit the market, do live projects, try to learn things by doing. Similarly, we have a tie-up with National Stock Exchange, where we have an investment lab. They work with them, they work with the real data, they create their portfolios and try to get results out of it. Similarly, we have one special course with Leadership Lab, because leadership qualities are also very important for any management student. And in HR, they have special course on that, where they learn various activities, how to manage team, how to get the best output from the people. So all these things are part of that course. So there are various kind of lab-based courses we have.
Apeksha, we'll wind up now. It's already 4:30.
Okay, so okay, that's fine.
Thank
Thank you.
you, Apeksha. Thank you, Dr. Sarjeet, Professor Sain.
Thank you.
And my entire team and the
Yes.
team from IMT Ghaziabad for helping us being a part of this particular session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And all the best to all of you.
I would
Yes.
request IMT Hyderabad to take over the session from here. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank
Thank you, Apeksha. Thank
Yes.
you, team IMT Nagpur, for handing over. A warm welcome to this interaction with the director of IMT Hyderabad. And we have a special guest today, which is Ms. Sandhya Subramanian, our alumni from the third batch of this campus. So can we begin? Yeah. So welcome to the both of you here. So Professor Sriharsha Reddy is the director of IMT Hyderabad. He has been associated with IMT Hyderabad for the last 10 years, 12 years. Yeah. And Professor is an alumnus of LSE and Harvard, and specializes in finance and teaches courses in banking and portfolio management. And he has been the director for the last 2 years. And welcome, sir. Yeah, and we also have Sandhya with us here. Sandhya is the vice president at Anand Rathi Wealth Management Limited, and she has been. So before this, you were at EY, and you are 2015 batch. You passed out of IMT Hyderabad in 2015. So welcome to the session. So let's jump right into the questions, and I want to do as less talking as possible. So to begin with, I think to just set the context of this discussion, I would like to ask Professor Sriharsha Reddy, what does IMT Hyderabad stand for you?
Thank you, Professor Vinay. Before I proceed, am I audible? Can anyone confirm? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I have been with IMT last 12 years. For me, IMT, usually in all our campaigns, we say, I'm the change, I'm the future, So I in IMT stands for insights, M in IMT stands for manpower, and the T in IMT stands for training. So last decade and so, we have been partnering with various stakeholders, especially corporates, to provide insights in the emerging areas of management. We did several projects with corporates like NABARD, PCI, and a pharma-based company, Mumbai-based pharma company. And recently, a study on COVID in association with CII. And with Scope, we are doing a project on digital transformation. So providing insights is one, but needs to be IMT. And we have been sought after for various corporates for recruiting talent. So providing quality talent, that is manpower, is the second aspect, what it means for me. And key training, being in B school area and management, being a management institute, we have been training several senior executives. Recently, we concluded a program with Aurobindo Pharma, Aurobindo Realty, Ramki, and as we are talking, we are planning for IndusInd Bank. So for me, IMT is insights, providing insights, and providing quality manpower, and providing quality training.
Okay, so as the credo for IMT Hyderabad goes, you will see that in the logo, harnessing knowledge for businesses, right? So we are in the service of helping businesses in terms of insights, that is by undertaking R&D projects and consulting projects that are relevant to the industries and businesses. We are in the process of providing manpower, which is what I'm sure a lot of the viewers of this session are interested in, providing world-class industry-ready manpower to corporates, and finally training, where we provide training to executives coming from different companies. So that is what IMT stands for: insights, manpower, and training. And as you may understand, there's a lot of synergy between the three of these. That is, insights generated from the faculty's consulting projects help in the classroom, and that further helps in improving the type of manpower we supply to the industry, right? The training that we do with the executives helps us understand what contemporary challenges of the industry are, and that feeds into helping the class, helping a better class discussion. So that's indeed pretty profound usage of the acronym IMT. So that's what IMT stands for. So Sandhya, so you've been with you've been associated with IMT for the last 10 years. So what does IMT stand for you?
So acronym wise, I'm going to think about the new acronym, but by definition, what it means to me is it's an inroad to the corporate world, and it is the best possible representation into the corporate world as to how a student should expect from a corporate world. Everything is what IMT gives us on a platter. Be it the corporate interaction or the academic pedagogy. It is a beautiful synergy between what has been taught to what is being expected out of the corporate world. So it's a beautiful marriage between the two, I think. So luckily and fortunately, I have been a part of this family for so many years of association. I still carry those values and principles which I imbibed as a student so many years ago. At that time, of course, I was a very novice, obviously, like any other student would be. I had zero to no experience in the corporate world, but what was promised at that time, because we were all young blood walking in from different realms of life, different walks of life, different cities, different geographies, and when we interacted with students from multiple cultures, and everyone had something nice to bring on table. So it was actually, the 2 years that I spent here, it's a culmination of so many experiences that we have had on campus, in the hostel, in the classrooms, everything which always painted a rosy picture of how a corporate world would be. And today, being a professional myself, and having spent some 8 years into the corporate life, I feel that it is every bit of the promise which was which was spoken about, everything has actually come true. So IMT for me, it has given me a new lease of life, I would say, because it gave every student the wings that they always needed so that they can fly high.
Okay, so a lot of transport metaphors there. Road to corporate, wings to fly, and fins to swim, everything. So yes, so it is your road to corporate, and we see that transformation as students come in and go out. That you're young and naive, and you don't sometimes you can't even put one sentence together. But then this entire exposure of 2 years of the grueling experience of academics, while you have to parallelly balance out your extracurricular activities to ensure you have the spikes on your resume, and then you have your other part of your life going on inside the campus. So yeah, so it is indeed an experience that you should you would definitely recommend to people who are looking to have a flourishing career. So yeah, so thank you, Sandhya. So let's move on with the questions. So yeah, so I want to ask you, so we've been around, IMT Hyderabad has been around for the last 12 years, and a lot has changed in the world in the last 12 years. Obviously, more change in the last 3 years than any other time. So how is IMT changing? That's the question. So are you still stuck in 2012, or are you, how are you bringing IMT to 2023 and beyond? That's the question.
One of the certain things in the world is change. If we do not change, it will be exchanged. So IMT knows the importance of being agile and adapting to change. So we undertook an EV exercise 3 years back, where we reframed our vision to be leading management institution that nurtures socially responsible business, which was not the case when you were there. And then we have added 3 aspects in vision. 1, to promote academic excellence. 2, to enhance industry readiness skills. And 3, to instill social consciousness. So, there are 3 broad trends which every business leader globally, every country leader globally is looking at. Okay. 1 is the rampant digital transformation. 2nd one, climate action on climate change. And 3rd one, post-pandemic hygiene and health safety. So aligning to these 3 broad global trends, we have completely redefined the way IMT works towards the aspiration of nurturing socially responsible business leaders through these 3 pillars of goals. That is 1, academic excellence, industry readiness, and then social consciousness.
Okay, so indeed, as Professor said, change is the only constant, and I really like when he said, if you don't change, you get exchanged. I'm sure you understand that these statements that institutes put out in terms of what our vision is, these are not so. At least for IMT Hyderabad, it's not an empty statement. There's a lot of follow-through action. There's a lot of incorporation of the mission, and that flows into the way the curriculum is designed, the way courses are taught. There is an ongoing effort at all times, each and every year, to update the curriculum, to ensure that the curriculum is contemporary. So courses on digital transformation, courses relating to sustainability, which are contemporary issues in management, are included. There are changes within courses, there are changes of the program structure, and all of these make you future ready. That is what IMT's commitment is, to make you future ready. So you are committed to creating business leaders in emerging areas of business. So you spoke about briefly about the emerging areas. In terms of actual action, in terms of investment in these areas, could you briefly talk to us about how you are developing insights, or what R&D projects you are undertaking, how that would go on to impact our corporate engagement, and how that will go on to impact curriculum?
See, at IMT Hyderabad, we strongly believe our students who are key stakeholders, they come with an aspiration to progress in their country. We strongly believe that students here do not come for jobs. They come here to make careers, the way Satya was mentioning. So our entire thought process revolves around how do we make our students who are key stakeholders corporate. So in this endeavor, we thought of we have set up 3 centers: Center for Sustainability and CSR, Center for Digital Transformation, and Center for Leadership. And the way we structured these 3 centers, there is an advisory council who are from the industry, and there is an executive council who are internal faculty and practitioners, and there is a student association. So all these stakeholders are involved. And what do these 3 committees do, or these 3 councils do? They do outreach activities. We have recently concluded a workshop, roundtable workshop on sustainability, in partnership with a Bangalore-based entity called Center for Sustainability. And we have initiated and concluded a study on impact of COVID on SMEs in India in partnership with CII. This is in alignment with one of the sustainable development goals. Likewise, in Center for Digital Transformation, there are so many outreach activities we have done to educate general participants on emerging technologies. And thanks to our activities in Center for Digital Transformation, we have started courses on emerging technologies, workshop on emerging technologies, which got embedded in the program. And these inputs will help our students to be contemporary, acquire contemporary skills. Likewise, leadership. So, consciously, IMT is investing in these 3 centers so that the activities of these 3 centers will help the students pursuing our PGDM or PGM Finance or PGM Marketing to hone their skills and present these to the corporates, so that by the end of 4th term, they're all they can start their career.
Okay, so it is about careers indeed. It's not only about jobs. Although IMT, is also about in terms of developing leadership skills that are going to last into your corporate careers. Right? So I'd like to ask Sandhya. So how is IMT, and so Professor spoke about all contemporary initiatives, and we had similar initiatives at that time, in terms of the internship process, where we had a co-guide as a faculty, and we were visiting, and we had practitioner sessions. All of these initiatives, in terms of their effectiveness on how it impacts your current, corporate journey. How did they help groom your leadership skills?
Okay, so as everyone knows that there is, there is a concept of 7-day work in IMT, because the 5 days we have to undergo the conventional ways of, the classroom training and class participation, group assignments, project work, all of that. But over the weekend, we used to, get this brilliant opportunity of interacting with the corporate honchos at that time onwards. Like, I don't know whether it is still.
No, it's still there. It's absolutely.
Yeah. So every Saturday and Sunday, we never used to basically be at rest. So for us, rest always meant that, okay, there is something different that we are doing from one job to another. That switching was actually called rest. So every Saturday and Sunday, actually weekends were, very, for us, it was very enriching, and the weekends were something that we used to look forward to, because of this precise reason that, we got involved with the corporate world in some way. Those guest lectures and the way they were positioned in the classroom, there was always a connection. So, for example, if we are, if there is a lesson on investment and portfolio management, so we would have, somebody from the industry who is actually taking up that role in the corporate world, so that he can actually let us know how the connect is, and he would tell us the practical experiences of that concept as to how it could be applied in the corporate world. There always used to be case studies, live case studies, what went wrong or what went right in their company, revolving around that concept, so that the students have a better, hold on how things look like, right? Because as students, we are only confined to what is written on the books. And the Philip Kotler, or it could be, anybody, any of those authors who have written down those books and how the concepts are supposed to be implemented in a practical world. And if somebody else says the same thing, backing it with their experience, it always gives that extra edge. And also, what these guest lectures used to do was, it used to kind of, help us dream bigger. If they have, reached a particular level and they are coming in front of so many students and inspiring all of us, and they are telling us their success story, so to say. So, there is a place for everybody in this world, right? You just have to identify and discover yourself and bring out the best version of yourself by constantly learning and, adapting to change. Like Sir rightly mentioned, the world is all about change, and, how gracefully you accept it and how well prepared you are to face whatever challenges may come across. So it definitely, it always used to help us dream bigger and bigger. And we understood that impossible is nothing. If, and all those corporate honchos were, once they, most of them came from a middle class background, they also had a dream to which they kind of, they worked upon it, and they, step by step, success cannot happen overnight. There is no shortcut to success. Having said which, you have to have all the ingredients which can make you successful, and for that, consciously, unconsciously, you have to keep working on yourself. So, as a student, obviously, every student dreams to do big in life and achieve something in life. And when somebody comes as a student in such premium B schools such as IMT, there always is an added advantage that we get because of the brand, obviously, and because of the kind of experience, the collective experiences of all faculty put together. That always helps, because they were not born yesterday. Obviously, they bring in their experiences in their way, and they all want to see all the students do well in whichever field they might choose going forward. It's not necessary that, you have to be a corporate, because I remember there was my classmate who is now working as an assistant director in movies, in Telugu movies. So one person is a photographer, and, National Geography has accredited him for his great photography. Some people ventured into acting or, angel investing. So, like, actually, for us, dreams are, as big as the horizon can get. So it's not about making them successful in a particular field, but whatever interests you, everything requires discipline. Everything requires a balance of emotions, of, knowledge, the right skill set. So obviously, these guest lectures definitely helped us. There was something called business orientation program where, all the students are associated. They are actually divided into groups, and it's a 15-day long program where corporates from different countries, from different companies used to visit our campus, and they share their experiences. One person used to be in the ushering committee, where they had to usher them from the airport. It might sound very trivial for many people, but actually that was a time where you get a one-on-one interaction time with the person who is coming. And I was fortunate enough to be selected as one person from the ushering team. And I still value that experience because that person's number is still saved in my phone, and we exchange New Year greetings or whatever it is. And he was at that time the MD of Mahindra Finance, Mr. Abhishek.
No, I still recall this. Right. She and one of her classmates were accompanying him. He's still the chairman of Mahindra Finance.
Okay.
And the business orientation program, what you are referring, now we call that as leadership.
Okay.
And the same thing is going on for current students as well. And they also cherish hobnobbing with the CEOs,
right.
Taking care of them right from they arrive the campus. And
right.
You can also share about your internship experience.
Yes, sir. So I did my internship with Ranbaxy, which was later acquired by Sun Pharmaceuticals. And again, all events happen when I am actively involved in a particular project. So when I was undertaking this internship, within 2 weeks, we heard the news of the acquisition of Sun Pharmaceuticals. And I was a part of that, merger and acquisition process. What went through with the employees was something which I was a part of, because there were town hall meetings one after the other, just to calm the nerves of the employees as to don't worry, the good people will be retained. When people were anxious, there were projects being divided, regions being divided, delegates from US, from Japan, everywhere coming down and trying to have interactions with everybody. And I was also, I used to speak into one of those boardrooms and try to act like a full-time employee and just to listen to and get the pulse of what happens. So it was again a very enriching experience for me, because I worked for this global marketing team in Ranbaxy, where we had to conduct feasibility studies for a drug, which was launched for the first time. This is the project that I did. So there's a disease called impetigo, and there was a drug which is called oxymorphine. So that was the drug which was first time launched in India. This is the studies that I conducted with my senior there, who I was attached to. So that is the kind of a rigor, and I think it has got to do more with the institute and the organization put together. Because if the institute did not give me that opportunity to interact with such companies, it made me what I am today because of the expertise and the teachers or the faculty who made us what we are today. Because the pedagogy is so strict, which is needed, and it does not give you a lot of room where you can actually have a lot of breathing time to while away, because it's very correctly placed. And so whatever lessons we used to learn as students, I got an opportunity to apply all that when I was doing my internship. There were so many avenues where the managers in Ranbaxy, they asked for my inputs and my insights as to what I read in my preschool, like whatever I read in my textbooks, how better can you do? Be it the marketing models, the forecasting models, everything. I could actually connect the dots. And obviously, there was a lot of brain exercise which happened, because I had to think out of the box. This is what our faculties used to always push. They used to push us to think. They will never give you a direct, straightforward response to anything that we ask, because they want the answer to come out of us. Because they know that it is lying somewhere within our mind. It is just that it needs a proper direction to come out of it. And I was associated with Mr. Professor Pavan, sir. So he used to visit us once in every 2 weeks to check the progress as to what the student has learned. And it is not like any other internship where, okay, just for the heck of certification, you get a certificate at the end of it and you get done with it. So that was definitely not the objective. The objective was every week you have to submit a report sheet where you have to, mention everything that you have done during the week. So that, it is more for us to evaluate. It was more like a self-review sheet. It's not a monitoring mechanism, so to say. It's only that, the student should be involved with what they are doing. It should not just be an exercise where, okay, it is a part of the teaching pedagogy. Okay, I'll be reviewed on this, so let me get done with something. Because as I rightly said, this project got launched after. So it's a big thing, feasibility study of a drug being launched in India. Basis a rookie like me, who was not even a corporate person, I was not a full-time employee. How the hell could I know what the pharma industry, how it functions and all that? But obviously the concepts that I had learned, I could actually apply it in any industry. Pharma was not my domain ever. Like, my background was not pharma. I'm doing a PGDM course in IMT. So how am I supposed to fit in? And today what I'm doing in Anand Rathi is marketing of financial services. So this is a completely different domain from pharma, the internship experience that I had. So basically, it makes the student ready to take up any opportunities. So there is no bar as such, okay, that you can't do, there is nothing called you can't do pharma. If you are doing pharma for 10 years, you cannot switch your industry to something else. It can be FMCG, it can be pharma, it can be industrial, cyclical, anything. So basically, the organization or the institute gives us the platform where we can, pick and choose what we want, because it is putting in all the ingredients for you to be successful in whatever you do in your life. So obviously this internship experience helps. So in every way, every program, be it a leadership series or business orientation or internship, it was always taking us a step closer to how a corporate world would look like. Just to give a sense of how it would be like. All this while you've been hearing about it, but how do you feel it? You get the feel of it only once you're pushed inside the glass chambers of a company cabin and experience how things are, how nasty managers would behave like, and how would a workstation look like, and what is real-time business. When they talk about business, what is actually that? It's not a child's play. You have to be delivering whatever is your deliverables, right? At the end of the day, it's not like, okay, as a student, we might, lethargy might set in. Okay, one assignment you're not done, you give some excuse, okay, you get done with it, you can, opt for a sick leave or something. But in a company, the project which is assigned to you, it is your baby. You have to do it no matter what. So obviously, it gives us that kind of exposure, and the anxiety levels reduce, I feel, with every interaction with a corporate personality. Obviously, you become it feels so much at home that once you are out of the institute and actually you are a full-time employee somewhere, so you are quite acquainted to the environment, to the systems, to how the corporate world looks like, and to how do we communicate the soft skills needed to interact with the corporate personality. So everything. So basically, it prepares you for the worst that you can look up in a corporate environment, and prepares you for the best. So
yeah, so the hashtag goes #IMT never sleeps.
Correct.
Which is what she was talking about, that you're here 24/7, you're on work 24/7, you're on the job, you're doing, if not this type of job, you're doing that type of job. But with regards to interaction with corporate people from the corporate and corporate leaders, right? I think over years we have also structured that into a mentoring program. Could you talk about that?
So this industry mentor mentee program we have launched 3 years back, where the way Sanjay was explaining about her internship experience, which is a credit course program. We thought more should be given to the students, and so out of top 10% of the students, around 30-40 students will be identified, and they'll be attached to these C-suite executives, not on an internship formal program. It's a 3 months mentor mentee program where they will go beyond the curriculum, beyond the project. Okay, so what we realized is shadowing a C-suite executive will help the current students to at least aspire to become one of the C-suite. So this we have started 3 years back. It is going well, and this is part of a broader initiative called Leadership Engagement and Academic Program, which was not there when we did. So 3 years back we launched this, where of course this leadership series, internship, we call it an industry immersion, all these are embedded. Apart from this, we've included global immersion program. Now for about 4 weeks, thanks to one of the positives of pandemic, each one of us could accept the digitalization quickly, and now we are able to access faculty, practitioners across the globe. So all the students undergo this 1 month global immersion program, where they will get to know about different cultures and different domain inputs from different nations' perspective. Okay, so as part of leadership engagement and program is IFTP, which we call it as mentor mentee.
So it goes beyond a ride from the airport to the institute to a much more structured engagement with which gives students a ringside view of how corporate strategy works and how work at the corporate goes on. So there are a plethora of initiatives, as we use the food metaphor. This is a buffet breakfast. Right? So there's everything for you to go and pick and have, and your it is about you and how much you utilize that, right? And there are initiatives ranging from social immersion, global immersion, industry mentor mentee program, practitioner sessions. All of these come together to provide students a very holistic understanding of the corporate, which as you are watching for is extremely useful. So amongst all of these, if you were to point to one single memorable moment at IMT Hyderabad, what would that be?
Picking one out of so many is very, very difficult. But I think the most memorable experience was getting a silver medal.
Okay.
During my convocation. That was one of the best, obviously, because that is something which every student dreams of. And
whom do you get your medal from?
Mr. G.
CVK was
there. So little did I know that I would actually have an interaction with him for my professional engagements much later in life.
Okay.
So and every time I passed through his house, like in the road number 1, Banjara Hills. So I always, remember that experience very vividly. And there are many other memorable experiences, right from getting the award for the best internship project to, I think, meeting Mr. Ramesh from Mahindra Mahindra, those conversations, or even the first day is very, very memorable when we got to interact with so many, professors on day one, and we understood, how the day looks like of a normal management student. Right from getting acquainted to, oh my God, back to books kind of a thing. That is when the reality strikes that actually this is a serious business. This is no more, the normal conventional schools that we come from. This is a B school with different expectations from students. It is no longer the same way of, mugging up things and writing it down, vomiting on the answer sheets. Here it is about applying your mind and more application. You have to widen your lenses. You have to look beyond what is written, because in order to solve a case study, you had to go through a lot of reading. I still remember there were so many cases. If I have to talk about the accountancy subject that sir used to take up, teach us in the first year, Kamdhenu case, Ashok Leyland, I still remember, very, very iconic cases for which we used to like sit in groups day in and day out to, crack our mind somehow in order to solve those cases, because they were not easy for us at that time. So a lot of reading went behind it, a lot of brainstorming sessions when we as students used to sit together. It was a trial and error experiment, everything, and during the groups, we realized that there is more to do with the, equation between people, because 5 people working together, it's not a joke. That was the first time.
Working with other people.
It is not a joke at all. Initially, we thought that everybody is of the same age, we are all friends. But actually, friends turn foes during the assignments and then back to friends on the presentation day, because that's when, everything has to be realized. So, yeah, memorable experiences. I think overall, the 2 years of IMT being here, the campus life, the mess food, everything was, memorable in itself. So everything is a chapter in IMT. And if I had to really look back and think, I don't regret even one bit of missing the campus life or the way things were. I don't want to change anything about, how those 2 years were. So very, very fulfilling and enriching, to say the least.
Okay. So in terms of corporate engagement, how is the placement team? And I'm sure a lot of the viewers are interested to understand the workings of the placements of IMT Hyderabad. How is the placement team, gearing up to provide, best outcome with respect to the skills of the students and, providing the best options given the competence and the background they come with, career aspirations they come.
So every year, we have a corporate relations office, well equipped with a 5-member team, highly networked with corporates. So their exercise starts with a strategy document. The first statement of the strategy document is their objective is to create opportunities for students to make careers, not jobs. So Institute is not here to give jobs. Institute is here to create careers for the aspirants. So there are so many components in their initiatives. As you rightly said, we get diverse students from diverse academic background, regional background, and some of them will be very expressive, some of them will be introvert. So all these, the corporate relations team assess at the beginning, okay, with at activity called pre-placement training. This is outsourced to a third party entity, and it is not standardized pre-placement training. This is customized pre-placement training. So there are online modules which are generic, and there are, of course, once again, online modules which are customized to all the students. Okay. Once these inputs are given, usually these inputs are given in the month of February, March, April, through the internship. Once they report reports down, that's when the domain inputs are given from the faculty. How these domain inputs are given, once again we go and deliver lectures, students will not be able to appreciate. So we conduct interviews. For you also, we did that domain interviews, wherein refreshers are given in each domain. They'll prepare and attend the 10 to 15 minutes interview with domain wise. Post that, the season would play at the end of fourth term, the placement season would start, and most of the batch gets placed upfront, and 10-15% of students, for whatever reason, there will be challenges. So for them, we do round 2 of training for those 10-15% of students, so that by the end of December, we conclude the placements for the entire. While the placements are going on, CRO team gives 3 kinds of inputs. One from alumni, very customized to that particular company. 2 from a practitioner, once again customized for that company. And 3 from faculty. So we call this alumni inputs as words of wisdom. So if tomorrow, let's say DE Shaw is done, usually DE Shaw picks 1 or 2. So the entire campus aspires to get into DE Shaw. So 3 kinds of inputs are given before students undergo the process of DE Shaw. That is from alumni, practitioner who is in that domain, industry, corporate representative, and all this is seamlessly done by CRO. And this is only for placements. Internships, they work towards it. I would say during your time, faculty used to identify a project, and that co-guiding is still going on. But now, CRO is identifying the project. So what is happening in this tweak process is, we are getting several PQs. In fact, the one who got highest package this year, 25 lakhs from DE, is a PQ. So that improvisation is done. Once again, the CRO team is doing this. And this industry mentor-mentee program is again an initiative by corporate relations. Leadership series is done by, people like the MD of Nippon, MD of Intel. So thanks to CRO Connect, we are able to get these guys every week. Okay, and practitioner sessions they are helping. So the corporate relations office here is working out what are all possible corporate interfaces so that students are corporate ready and they are ready to be absorbed by the corporate. So usually companies like today we have Hero Corp campus, yesterday Nerolac. So there are several companies who come, and then because we have a limit of taking 2 or 3, that's what we are taking, or else we would have picked more. So initially I was telling you about IMT. M stands for quality manpower. So 90 to 95% of the corporates are extremely happy with the quality of talent. The only thing is where the mismatch would be, company offers certain package, certain profile. Students want certain package, certain profile. That's where the deal may not happen, but otherwise, corporates who have come here, they'll pick students beyond their budgeted.
Okay, so that all of this, these initiatives, you could attribute the success of the raise in the graduation outcomes, the median salary over the last couple of years that you have observed in the statistics. You would attribute it to all of these initiatives and handholding and guidance provided by the faculty, the facilitation of alumni inputs, corporate inputs provided by the CRO, So yeah, so you are in good hands as far as your road to the corporate is concerned, right? And as time passes, we are removing more and more obstacles on that road and ensuring that it is a enriching journey for you, for the students who come to the institute. So I think on that note, we can it's 45 minutes, so I think we can I mean, that's the end of the list of the questions I have. So over to the viewers, if you any questions, queries they're getting on YouTube Live, if you could pass that on to me. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah. So I have a question. What are the current accreditations of IMT Hyderabad? How can they be advantageous to aspirants at IMT Hyderabad?
Yeah. And I'm glad that somebody has asked this question. Usually students thought process revolves around what companies are coming, what is the package, but that is the outcome. The input and the process is usually defined by these accreditations. So we are MBA accredited, all our programs, PGDM, PGDM Finance, PGDM Marketing are National Board of Accreditation, MBA accredited. We are also SACS accredited, South Asian Quality Systems, which is awarded by ANVISA, which is a SARC entity. Then we are members in two global accreditation agencies, one AACSB, another one is EFMD. AACSB in a couple of years we are going to get. There are very few institutes in India who are AACSB accredited. I mean, as many of you know, we are also, at your time, we didn't have NARF ranking, National Institutional Ranking Paper. We are one of the two B schools here who are part of that NARF from Hyderabad. So, these are the accreditations you have, and what does it mean to you as a student? The moment we are SACS accredited or MBA accredited, PGDM is equivalent to NBA. So though we are an autonomous institute, this PGDM degree is equivalent to MBA like any other. This is one. And second one, there are not all corporates, but there are few marquee corporates who actually look up to such rankings and accreditation. That's where the chances of they coming here and picking you up for placements will be high.
Yeah. And even these accreditations help in other ways in terms of creating partnerships with foreign institutions and all of these accreditations. Second question, internships play a crucial role in shaping our future roles. At IMT Hyderabad, can a student expect internship not only from corporates, but also institutions like MPCI, etc.? Are these, so we spoke a lot about corporates, but is it just corporates, or are there other organizations also where we send out students for internship?
Yeah, see, during internship program, it's a incubating period between year 1 and year 2, 3-month duration. There are 3 avenues for students to pursue. One is internship with corporates. 2, internship with NGOs. So some of our students pursue projects with NGOs like Bala Vikas in Hyderabad and GMR Varalakshmi Foundation. So these kind of live projects students can pursue. Third is student exchange program. In fact, recently we have sent 5 students to Neoma Business School. Student exchange program is one of the unique things which IMT Group has. Very few schools in India has this program, and we are one of those. There are 3 avenues where, apart from corporates, you can spend your time of summer term with an NGO or with an international.
Any more questions? Give it a couple of minutes more. If there are any more questions relating to admissions, relating to placement, anything. Okay then, so it was great interacting with all of you. And I'm just still looking at my screen if there are any more queries. So shall we, shall we call it a day? So thank you very much for attending this session or viewing this session later on YouTube. Please reach out to the admissions team should you need any more information. If you look, most information is available on the IMT Hyderabad website. If something is not available, you can reach out to the admissions team and they will point to the right people who will be able to answer questions, not only just related to admissions or placements, but also related to your curriculum, related to your stay on campus, etc. So thank you very much. Okay, there's one more question now. So how will the GDPI be conducted?
GDPI, this is a question related to admissions, but let me take it. It will be online. Earlier, we used to have GD embedded in our process. We do not have GD. It is only critical thinking test, a written test component, and personal interview component. It will be for about 20 to 30 minutes of personal interview. We do not have GD in our process, in the admission process. I'm assuming that is for admissions.
Yeah,
But usually for the corporates, they would have the written test, GD, PI, technical round of PI, HR round of PIs. Yeah, I think.
I think
we can conclude. All the best, all the participants patiently listening to us last 3 hours. Ours is the third, IMT Hyderabad is the third one. So all the best for your school admissions.
Thank you. All the best.
All the very best to the people who are planning to get into this. You will have a very enriching and satisfying experience. Rest assured. So all the very best.
Thank you.